Uh, Making noises at the beginning of this is very professional. Um, Live, it should be fucking going to the shit, but like it takes a bit for the stream to actually start showing up on the page. All right, cool. Going cool. That's there. We're here. Everybody's saying words today. We got 9 people to say words and possibly more coming in later. That's so okay. To address this, I'm going to start by saying one of the reasons I use Skype and not StreamYards is because it means that if we have 9 people on the screen, they're not just tiny little that nobody can see. Because like StreamYards forces you into this background mode where like you have to see the background and you also have their advertising logo and all that shit and all that shit. So I have Skype on because it makes it easier to like have full faces in the frame that are actually higher quality, higher resolution, because it's a video calling service. It's not a streaming service. So that's the reason I do Skype instead of StreamYards, to explain that, because it was asked a bit ago and I don't remember when, and I don't remember if I addressed it, so that's there now. Welcome to this episode of blah 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 blah. Time to Libertarians again. We've got lots of guests. We're going to be talking about the Trump bullshit. We're going to be talking about like sacrifices of principles. We're also going to be addressing chat questions directly, and then finishing with talks of the type of action that the best modalities for progressing toward and the best modalities for progressing toward a freedom conclusion. So, with all that being said, I'm going to start, before people intro themselves, by just reading a couple things. And, like, I'll try to keep it fast and I'll try to keep it short because that's how she likes it. Believe it or not, it's an uncommon truth. If you're good enough, it doesn't matter how long you take. She'll be happy, you know. So the general, and no, that's not true. Don't listen to anything I'm about to say. Portland Purge. I want people to know what I'm saying, like, is coming from, like, a time long since past. And the Portland Purge is something that should be on everybody's lips right now, because the Libertarian Party is repeating the mistakes of the past. And the mistakes of the past that are currently being repeated are about, like, sort of how people have gradually, like, lost principles to me. And these 2 articles, I'm going to read the first from L. Neil Smith, and it's an attribute to the libertarian enterprise. And he says they'll know that in Portland, Oregon, ironically enough, on the weekend of July 4th, 2006, a slathering pack of neolibertarians, the vicious lowlives who have always placed politics ahead of principles, ripped 80% of the contents of the Libertarian Party national platform. Moreover, they would have obliterated the document altogether if could they have mustered a few more gullible fools, those incapable of the 2mm intellectual leap required to understand that there's no point in having a libertarian party if you abandon the very libertarianism that the party stands for to help them. And so the article goes on to say, LP candidates have taken enough votes in an election to deprive Republicans of victory and assure the win for Democrats. Whenever that has happened, Republicans have bawled like the babies wearing dirty, smelly diapers that they are, which is reason enough for them to set moles burrowing into the LP to destroy it from within. Now the GOP has nothing to worry about. Possibly more important, with real libertarians, remember that phrase around the all the time to remind the American electorate of what they, the GOP, once dishonestly claimed to stand for. Republicans would have a much tougher time propping up their increasingly rickety empire of lies. Voters might be getting tired of perpetual warfare, of oppression, of slavery, torture, and slaughter, planting parliamentary saboteurs. By the way, Kareem, mind muting for a second? Kareem? Mind muting for a second? Kareem, can you hear me? Okay. Well, I don't hear the background noise. Just because I could hear background noise, a lot of it. Anyway, I'm going to continue. Voters might be getting tired of the perpetual warfare, oppression, slavery, torture, and slaughter. Planting parliamentary saboteurs within the LP poised to wreck the party at the very moment it might otherwise have had its greatest successes makes a lot of sense. But then I had another thought. My first New York book editor, 25 years ago, I'm shocked to realize, was kind of a killjoy, a veritable Captain Bringdown. For every wonderful, magical-seeming phenomenon in the universe, I'll call him Owen, had a mundane explanation, a relentlessly unfun way of looking at things that removed all of that pesky wonder and magic and left you holding something that resembled mud, boring mud at that. Obviously, that's not a quality to be encouraged in a science fiction editor. However, Owen was not without his own brand of wisdom, and the wisest thing he ever said to me, I call it Owen's Law, has served me in a good stead for a quarter of a century. It's simply this. Whenever you are tempted to blame a conspiracy for something that somebody has done, consider the possibility that they're just stupid. It was at that point that something else occurred to me. What had happened in Portland on the 4th wasn't merely the complete disaster it appeared to be. It was all of that, of course. Make no mistake about it. The LP and the cause of the individual liberty itself will almost certainly never recover, and we'll end up with our naked pink asses in transparent bathtubs being forced to act as batteries for George Rodham Bush's the 7th iPod. But it also represents an amazing, unparalleled opportunity to put Owen's Law to the scientific test. Has the Libertarian Party truly been destroyed by Republican operatives? Here's how to find out. Make sure none of their candidates for office ever appears at a public gathering without some real libertarian hecklers to ask embarrassing questions about what real libertarianism is. Make sure none of their candidates ever runs for office without a real libertarian. Sorry, I looked up for a second. Remember that phrase opponent on the ballot with him. All the neo-libertarians will have accomplished, conspiracy or not, is to split the libertarian vote in half for the remainder of history. Many years ago, no, this is not a digression, there was some kind of dispute over the intellectual property called Ghostbusters. I know nothing of the details. Only that it was serious enough that when the time came to make a Saturday morning cartoon series based on the 2 feature movies of that name, it had to be called The Real Ghostbusters. I can't count the number of occasions since then. Whenever I have been disgusted by what's become of the original LP, the last time I ran for president in Arizona instead, I think we're losing people. I can't tell. We just lost, people are free to come back though.
Scaring them away.
Yeah, right? I had thought about how useful it might be to create the Real Libertarian Party. The Real Libertarian Party on the same basic principles as the Real Ghostbusters. Now, if the neo-libertarians don't object to any of this, then we'll know for sure that they are political operatives for the criminals in the White House, and their actual goal all along was to destroy the LP. And if they do object, then we'll know that they were just stupid. QED. So, there's that one, and then there's this other one that says very similar things to L. Neil Smith, which is not common that these two should agree on quite a bit, but at the Lou Rockwell channel. And this was, like, talking about how basically they had abandoned the NAP, they had watered down the platform, they had ripped out a significant amount of it, and the paragraph that I want to read here. So what are some of the principles that they believe must go? This is about the Reform Caucus. First and foremost is the non-aggression principle, which is considered the main threat to an election-oriented populism. If libertarians would simply throw away this ideal, explaining LP policies on taxation, the drug war, foreign policy, and military intervention would no longer be a campaign embarrassment. The LP would be free to advocate all sorts of government programs and interventions, since taxation would no longer be considered a violation of human rights. Voters would no longer fear that someone out there actually believes an individual's property does not belong to the state. The reformers even want to dumb down the drug issue. One member of the Reform Caucus suggested that if they could not get rid of the drug war plank, which survived the Portland Purge, it could be watered down to drug laws can hurt minorities and low-income citizens. This would eliminate any suggestions that individuals have a right to drug use. Such an honest consistency would obviously frighten voters. These reformers are attempting to make the LP more preferable or palatable to the vote-getting political mainstream. And yet the founder of the Libertarian Party, David Nolan, has repeatedly said that he and the early founders were more interested in the educational opportunities available through a campaign for office. To them, actually winning an election was secondary. Should the Libertarian Party base its success solely on achieving political power? Should we seek political power as the end-all? One Reform Caucus leader echoed this sentiment by arguing that the LP must, quote, win elections at any cost, which comes down to the Machiavellian notion that the, quote, ends justify the means. To him, libertarian principles were an impediment to greater LP election victories. What will happen to the Libertarian Party if it attempts to fool voters about what libertarians really believe? Will voters reward our deceptive campaigning with more elected candidates? Will diluting and hiding our message increase membership? Or will it open the floodgates to more conservative, religious right, and pragmatic members who have little understanding of our philosophy? And what will happen if other reformers in later years pressure the LP to dilute our message again to gain an even greater share of the popular vote? Where does this erosion of principles end? That's a part of the other article. Both of these articles are great. I recommend people read them. And L.K. Samuels and L. Neil Schulman, I think that was L. Neil Smith. Sorry, I'm mixing L. Neil Schulman with J. Neil, or sorry, L. Neil Smith with J. Neil Schulman. There's too many something Neil somethings. All right. I just wanted to start with that because that sounds like it could be written now, and it was written in 2006. It sounds like something could be written now, and it was written in 2006. Okay, I just wanted to start with that because it makes me upset in a very deep and visceral way, and angry and fucking conspiratorially minded, because it's like the Libertarian Party has had these issues before, and it's letting it get worse now with people who are doing it again and making it more friendly to the conservative religious right, authoritarians, the Mises Caucus. That's what we're dealing with, and that's the reason. Let's start after introductions. Sorry about the fucking blathering in the beginning, but I had to get that off my chest. And I'll shut up. People can introduce themselves, and then we will start talking about the Mises Caucus, courting RFK Jr., Vivek Ramaswamy, Malay, and inviting Trump to the convention. That's how we'll start this stream. So let's go first to Bread, then we'll go to Lizard, then we'll go to Archie, Hody, Rose, Dennis, Bryce, and then we'll start the discussion. Introduce thyselves. Bread. You are muted. You are... Okay.
Damn it. Sorry. I'm Bread. I'm not sorry. I'll do it again.
Yeah, right? Fucking do it again.
I don't know. I'm just an anarchist person who tries to do things, and I'm here trying to do word things now. Thanks for having me. Free Palestine.
Lizards.
Hi, I'm Lizard Jesus. I consider myself an ego calm, and I am a big proponent for anarcho unity and have been doing it for about 4 years. So I've been around for a little while, long enough to see some issues.
Cool.
But that's me.
Archie.
Still the same Archie I was last week. I'm a minarchist. I believe that there does need to be some government, and it always comes down to like what you call it rather than whether or not it exists. Like if we're gonna have laws against murder, whatever you want to call those, you're still gonna need someone to enforce them. So I think that we should have the smallest possible government we can get away with while still maintaining natural human rights.
Hody.
Hey guys, I'm Hody Johns. I'm with the Love First Christians. I love to look at the intersectionality between anarchy, freedom, and faith. There's an awful lot of it among all faiths, and that's my passion.
Dennis.
Hi, I'm Reinhold. I've been writing about libertarianism for over 30 years, and been active in the LP for about that same long period of time, and I've seen a lot of these issues come and go long before 2006 or now. So, and the fact that the second article you read was from the Lou Rockwell site is the delicious irony of it all.
Yes, it is. Because they're heralding in that right-wing fuckery. Rose.
I'm Rose.
Wow.
I'm a market anarchist, aka real libertarian, also a part-time big L libertarian. I'm part of the LPNY State Committee and National Platform Committee. And I'm just relieved that we were able to get through that intro with minimal amounts of gloating.
Yeah, well, I wanted to do historical precedent bullshit. I wanted to start from that, like, because it's like that old thing, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes, and I think this sounds like a fucking poem. This is poetic bullshit right here. Bryce.
This is literal, right? This isn't rhyming. This is repeating, and I actually have a great a little quote for us to read later.
Cool.
From 1992. So if you want some fun times about that.
Yeah, actually, Bryce. Then we'll jump into your quote, and then we'll start talking about the other stuff. Bryce.
Hello.
Cool.
Well, I would classify myself as a Christian anarchist with market anarchist economic practices. I'm a member of the Libertarian Party and the Congressional District 3 rep for the Libertarian State Party of Wisconsin. And I've been in this circle since about 2022. Also a advocate for anarchist unity.
Cool. All right, well then let's just jump in with that quote, Dennis.
All right, little context. This is Murray Rothbard speaking in 1992 on why he, Lou Rockwell, and Ron Paul were supporting Pat Buchanan for president. He says, Pat Buchanan is our ideal candidate. He's highly intelligent and deeply principled. He is known and loved by millions of Americans. He has a great deal of experience in politics, though not in running for office. He is a superb public speaker, and his is personally a remarkable blend of reason and passion, which enables him to rouse the masses as no one else can do in our lifetime. He is a paleo through and through. He stands for America first, and for an older and finer America, an America of liberty and individual responsibility, of a culture permeated by sound religious values and marked by a happy and optimistic view of mankind and the universe. He speaks to the best of every American, and he has the capacity to get them to listen. He speaks with the best hope of bringing back that kind of America. I want you to imagine that being said on Sunday morning during presidential nominations at the LP convention, the day after Trump is speaking to the convention, when somebody will, I guarantee you, try to get Donald Trump nominated as president candidate for the Libertarian Party.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Let's get that started.
That sounds like a bunch of Christian nationalist rhetoric.
Yes, it is, and it's evil.
Yeah, it's
Pat Buchanan
horrifying.
was an American fascist. Trump is an American fascist. This is all the same bullshit. And when you hear somebody say America first, that is a code word from back in the 40s, late 30s, when they were trying to align with Hitler.
Yeah.
And keep us out of World War II.
And
Absolutely.
with that in mind, welcome back pedophile Nick Fuentes to Twitter. Elon Musk, you're doing a great job.
Jesus.
He said he wanted, and I'm not making this up. The guy who literally runs the America First News blah blah, that's his brand now. He's on record saying when he's 30 wants to go seek out an untouched, uncorrupted, innocent, pure 16-year-old girl. That's who the right's sending. They're sending that's their best.
Can y'all just admit that Elon's a fascist? Like, he's just batting for the home team. All he does is set up fascists. Fascists here, fascists there, fascists fucking everywhere.
Yep. And
it's how the populism gets brought into the fascist side. It's a problem with populism is that you, by definition, are abandoning some principles in order to get to that populist state. And then all you need to do is get dragged a little bit further. And that's how they get pulled into it.
Yep. Yeah. And so I wanted to start with that because this Trump thing came up. Because there's a Libertarians for Trump organization that there is that. There is that. But a Libertarians for RFK organization that's also vying. There was Vivek Libertarians, especially I think his name is Ryan from Iowa, who ran the Josh Smith campaign and was still propositioning RFK Jr. for a Libertarian candidacy. And these people are just like, do you suck my cock about the woke issue and also borders and shit? Well, I want you to run for Libertarian office because I have low standards. That's who we're dealing with here. They suck asshole. And they're trying to infiltrate the party.
The RFK support at least dropped off dramatically after October 7th.
And I can tell you somewhat because
after
No.
After RFK went on his let's deep throat every fucking rabbi bullshit.
Well, no one really wanted him to be Libertarian candidate, really. It was that, aside from a small faction of the party, it was that he was just better than other Democrats, so they were giving him, attention because, it's a very low bar, but, at least he was theoretically, at the time, anti-war and had a couple other good policies. When he started sucking Netanyahu's cock, support for him pretty much disappeared, with a couple exceptions. There are still some people who think that, they want him at conventions for some ridiculous reason, and they think that, we should be supporting him, which is fucking stupid.
So here's my deal. As somebody who was recently involved, and I'm just gonna say this because I don't fucking care anymore. I was gonna try to play nice for a bit, but literally everybody involved in the fucking campaign has basically walked away from me anyway. So I don't fucking care anymore. And here's me just coming out guns blazing saying I got removed from all Lars Mapstead campaign rooms, and involvement in all of their stuff because I had the audacity to point out that one of the people organizing the campaign added, accidentally, I'm not saying he did this on purpose, but accidentally added a pedophile who used that place to network with minors and also other people. And that fucking, that group kicked me out. I got kicked out of the Discord. I got kicked out of the Signal chat. I got kicked out of the group message on Twitter, all because I wouldn't apologize for using the group that guy used to network with minors and start complimenting them on their juicy booty, and various other incredibly disgusting things. And didn't say I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for posting one tweet about this guy and using where he networked in order to say don't let this guy into your campaign circles. He'll use it for bad purposes. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. And the reason I'm bringing that up is not, the reason I'm bringing that up is because when I was in there, it was pulling teeth to get some of these motherfuckers to say, I don't like RFK Jr. These people were on team RFK, not all of them. Enough of them, though, were on team RFK Jr. And they were also some of them on team Trump. And Like, this gradual subversion didn't matter to people. What mattered to these people was that they might be able to collectively stop 270, and they didn't care how they got there. That didn't matter to, like, not all of them. Some of them were principled. Some of them appreciated with what I was doing. And that kept me involved. In fact, I became, according to Nick Nunnally, the biggest, most prolific, most successful Discord recruiter for that campaign until they removed me from the Discord. And there's a bunch of other issues that I could bring up, but the reason I'm bringing this up is because the RFK Jr. support is oftentimes just like, oh, but we can work with those people. Don't be so mean to them so that they go to the Trump campaign. They might go to the Trump campaign, and that might make it harder to stop 270. And I'm like, I don't fucking care. Fuck RFK Jr. And it didn't matter to them.
They allowed RFK, like blatant RFK supporters in the Lars Napstead groups.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Wow.
some blatant Trump supporters. Some of whom, like, literally have a group on Twitter for Trump support. Like, I'm not exaggerating when I say that these people have a surprising amount of pull still, and the fact that some of them are less popular now than they were does not mean that they are not popular at all, is all I was trying to say. Now I'm going to shut the fuck up.
Okay. Chase Oliver and Lars Napstead, there's nothing in particular that sticks out to me that I don't like.
Sure, yeah.
But
they're
they
fine.
have a lot more. They have a lot more normie supporters than some of the other candidates. I will say that much. So I feel like you're most likely to encounter, you'd be more likely to encounter people who think that people like Trump or RFK are still, valid choices.
Yep. People who have no idea and do not care. So, all right, I'm going to shut the fuck up for a bit. Everybody else can talk about their impressions of Trump being allowed to speak at the LP convention. Let's start with Hody.
I don't like it. To me, this is kind of just another step in the, hey, we keep saying we won't get fooled again, and this keeps happening to us. As history's mentioned, we've kind of done this before, and it hasn't worked out in our favor. And I think there's an arrogance to it, because I think these people know that we haven't. And I think what it is they think it'll be different this time, or I'll do it this time. I want to remind people, because I don't want this to get lost in the shuffle, that this was Trump's idea. Like, he messaged us and was like, I'd love to do this. And then we extended the invitation for him to do it. There is a reason, as a former Republican strategist, I can tell you, there is a reason we extend these types of invitations. And it's because we believe we can win, and it will make you look dumb. And even if it doesn't make you look dumb, it's borrowing your relevancy. And, you'll get your name mentioned in a few articles. You'll get, and people will be like, oh, my gosh, they're actually talking about us now like we're relevant. This has happened a bunch of times to parties you've never heard of. This is like parties that lost their obscurity, like lost what made them unique because they sold out. And when these parties will tell you up and down, oh, we didn't sell out, we just hosted them. We just really thought that this was we're gonna make it happen. Listen, it's been done before. We know what you're trying to do. I'm not throwing out the intentional saboteur thing. I think it's idiocy. I just I think that there needs to be an awareness of why this has been done, why we shouldn't do it. Now, here's the thing. Can you potentially make it good? And this is something I am getting a little pushback on in the post. Sure, I think theoretically it's like trying to play chess against like the best chess player in the world. And because I will say this about the Republicans, they can take dwindling numbers, they can take like all kinds of problems and turn it into electoral victories. They play a ton. It's funny because remember when like the Democrats were like the kings of identity politics? They still pretty good at it, but they got nothing on the Republicans. And they're extremely good strategists. Some of the smartest strategists I've ever met. They're Republican loyalists. They've been there for life. They're very good at this. And they understand. So what you need to treat this as is not like, I think we can pull off a win here. Yeah, if you think you can pull off a win, you need to be training and prepared like you would be playing a chess game against the best chess master in the entire world. Somebody who's proved it over and over again. You need to treat this like you're going to go into the octagon with the best MMA fighter in the world, right? Like, and you believe that you can defeat them. Now, I believe that you can. It's just going to require a ton of discipline, a ton of hard work. It's going to require a lot of sacrifice. It's going to require a lot of discipline. Some things you can't do if you intend to win. You cannot accidentally have a Bill Weld moment and say something that looks like you're endorsing him. You cannot send out an email that quotes Trump telling people to join the Republican Party. We've already done those things. We're already showing we're not disciplined enough for this. Now, I'm gonna do the unthinkable and stick up for Angela a little bit here, because here's the thing. She's like, well, hang on, that quote came about because I was bashing Trump. And then somebody said, can't you say anything good about him? And then she goes and says that good thing about him. That's all they need. As you can see, this is proof before your eyes. This is all they need to register a win, is you bashing him for a long time, and then you throw in a little bit like, oh yeah, he's a better president in person than Biden. Boom, victory. That's all they need. As a Republican strategist, I can tell you that's all we're looking for. It's like the Rage Against the War Machine rally. There were a lot of genuinely pro-peace activists there. If you are in the regular world and outside of a few like niche libertarian circles, that turned into a pro-Russian aggression rally. And why? Because all it takes is a couple snapshots, a few people, a few idiots waving, Russian flags, a few, that's all they needed, and you gave it to them. And so when I talk about this, what I'm saying is you need to understand who up against. I understand that you're like, oh no, it's going to be good this time. It's going to be different this time. I believe that it can be, but you're going to have to be almost perfect to pull this off, like I said, like a chess game, like a boxing match against whoever the greatest in the world is. If you're going to win a political tactics game, understand you're going against the best, and you need to treat it like you're going against the best. You're failing that, and that's why I bring up these issues. And so I don't think you will win, because you've already fallen into the trap that they want you to fall into. It's arrogance to believe that you can win this unless you look around at yourself and be like, all right, guys, can we pull this off? We've got to be just about perfect to do it. Yeah. I want you to prove me wrong. Go ahead and try. I believe that the avenue is there, but you're going to have to be about perfect to make it happen.
Hody, do you have confirmation that that Trump actually did approach the Libertarian Party asking if he could visit? Because currently, I've heard rumors, but as of now, the official story is still that the chair made a unilateral decision, basically, to send invites to Trump and Biden. And that's, that's still the official story.
It was her decision. I don't, and she did say, I think in this call, so this was in a chair call with the chairs and delegates. It was written up. They have a synopsis of it. It was Jesse. He's the vice chair for the delegates. He typed it up. And so we actually do have like a synopsis, because when people are like, what the heck happened here? What, obviously there was a lot of pushback. There was some explanation to them as to what happened, that Angela decided to meet with them and talk about it, where she says that, I guess it was Trump's idea. Trump approached her, and then she thought about it. I believe she did take credit for this being her decision. I don't, and maybe I need to read the email again, but I don't believe she actually said, like, I talked about it with the team or anything. So I don't think it's anybody else's on the LNC's fault, but I do think, because I think she is the one that said, this was something I decided to do afterward.
Right. I remember the announcement, and it was just like, okay, this is a dumb little stunt. They're inviting, the Democrat and Republican candidates. Everyone's just kind of laughing. They're like, of course, it's not going to work. And then, it was all a clever little stunt until Trump actually accepted. And now we're hearing, of course, that, he even most likely approached the LP for the opportunity to use them as a platform to hold a rally in the first place. And that, it wasn't even an idea. But, I've been arguing with quite a few of my, fellow New York libertarians about this, because, I've said basically the same thing. This is just going to come across as, okay, the story is going to be that Trump was the guest of honor at the Libertarian National Convention. All it's going to take is, one short video clip of Trump addressing a room full of libertarian delegates with cheers going on in the background. And that's going to be the story that libertarians overwhelmingly endorse him. He's going to give one of his usual self-sucking speeches about how great he is. And then he's going to go around bragging about how much libertarians love him and endorse his message. And then all these, casual people who are maybe casually interested in the Libertarian Party are going to hear, oh, I hear that they're all endorsing Trump. I guess, Trump is our guy this election season. But, God, I keep dealing with people arguing that, no, this is going to provide us with the opportunity to grill Trump on some of his bad decisions. I'm like, you fucking idiots. No, it is not. Okay, at best, he's going to take maybe a handful of very carefully curated, pre-selected questions, give his usual non-answers to them, and yeah, we're not going to get a chance to debate him. We're not going to get a chance to grill him, and even if they come up with some sort of agreement, oh, okay, you want, give us this, this, and this, you want to speak in our convention? Okay, when has Trump ever kept any sort of promise? No, this is an optics nightmare for libertarians.
And a principles nightmare.
No kidding.
We all know that.
And
that's Trump's the most honest person.
But it's not a principles nightmare.
That I want to speak about.
One more, everybody, one at a time here. Let's go, Dennis, Lizard, Bread.
Well, it's not like Trump is the most honest person when it comes to optics and things like that, with things that happen, right? So there are multiple times where he says, well, this is what happened at this date. And we have video confirmation that it's not what happened. We have all this stuff inside, but he still says it, and people still believe it because no one checks him up on it. And that's how he gets away with it. Like all the people who were there for his inauguration, it was the best ever. It's always the best this, the best that. And we're not going to be the ones to break that. I'm sorry to tell you. It's just not going to happen.
And I hear it's going to be open to the public too. So it's going to be a fucking battle rally.
Something that I wanted to talk about was that this is a betrayal of philosophical belief, and all the supporters like libertarians for Trump are a bastardization of libertarianism. They're statists that don't know what libertarianism is, most of them, or they're status influence people and take over our party. And I don't understand where this whole idea where it comes from, where it's a good idea for a libertarian to simp for a national figurehead like Trump or Millet or anybody. It's just doing that on itself is a betrayal of all libertarian principles. At least, well, as far as the anarchist perspective goes. It's just awful. And as an ANCOM, I like to point back to history when it comes to aligning with national leaders and figureheads for quote unquote common goals. Because during the time of the Russian Civil War, Nestor Makhno decided to align himself with Stalin's army for a temporary offense tactic. And Stalin turned on him and destroyed the whole fucking Ukrainian Black Army and absorbed the free territory of Ukraine. Huh? So knowing that a part of my philosophical history and knowing these specific groups of people who are currently infiltrating the Libertarian Party have done to the activist groups that I've been a part of, it's a repeat. Aligning yourself with these people is dangerous.
Yeah. Oh, I said the same thing too. At best, we're going to have various, we're going to have the Secret Service and other various 3-letter agencies, doing background checks on every delegate and everyone else who's scheduled to be there. At worst, no one's talking about this, but we just handed the feds the perfect opportunity to carry out some kind of false flag, and no one seems. It doesn't seem to, because big L libertarians are jaw-droppingly naive when it comes to this kind of thing.
Well, they could turn around and decide to just RICO everybody if they decide that they find a whole bunch of people involved with the LP that disregard laws.
Uh-huh.
You know, and then
Yeah.
that throws the whole fucking party under the bus.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just go on national TV and say you're a subversive movement and then host a convention in the middle of a viper's nest. Invite a major party candidate who's going to bring, Secret Service along with them. And, oh my God. Ugh. No, it means we're relevant because they feel the need to address us. No, they're using us as a platform to get votes and to self-promote. That's all this is.
Yep.
I mean, and none of this should be a surprise to anybody because the Libertarian Party has been walking itself into this for quite some time. There are people here right now that have been involved with the LP longer than me, but I've been around for a while. And I walked away a couple of years ago after the convention where everything went to shit, the horrible one.
2022?
Yeah, the one where they changed the principles. Like they rewrote the principles and removed the strong stance
2022.
against races. That was 2022. Yeah, that was when I finally was like, I can't do this anymore. I mean, there's nothing left of the libertarian anarchist Dallas Accord at that point. And it was just another image of, it was just the beginning. Well, it wasn't even the beginning. Like we've experienced this from the LP and people in the LP who were like, wow, look at the young anarchists with their shows and they're running all over the United States and elsewhere, doing all this crazy shit. We want to get on the train with that. These people had absolutely no problem working us to death. They absolutely had no problem asking things of us that like were completely unreasonable, even though we were willing to do everything we could to help. And when we asked people to go to the streets with us, I would look back behind me and see 3 people maybe. And it was terrible. Like my whole experience with it was nothing but an uphill battle, trying to get anything done. The only time I ever felt like people appreciated me was here in Pulaski County. Like they actually even like let me try to be vice chair for a little while. It was pretty cool. These guys were awesome. I now only align myself with individuals. I can't have anything to do with it because I've watched this continuously happen. And we brought in statists and we brought in statists and we brought in statists and we didn't educate them. We just let them stay statists in the party. We were interested in quantity, not quality. Because of that, we have no quality. Well, I mean, not none, but we haven't got enough quality to overpower the quantity, which is all shit. And we all walked into this and there were people yelling and screaming about it all the way. I was one of them. But like you were called problematic. You're just trying to be contrary. All sorts of fucking things. They quietly ignored their own fascification while they fucking like in exchange for some fucking spotlight that didn't get them anything to begin with. They threw all this shit away and they've thrown so many people away and they've made people walk away betrayed. They have caused people to completely lose all faith in all fucking political shit. Like I'm one of them. I don't believe that there is a political solution at this point. My last Hail Mary in politics was trying to get involved with the LP because my Green Party run was not great. I didn't like that. And that ended with Nader. And when I first came to the LP, it felt like the safest place for someone like me, like a queer person who loves guns and I'm an anarchist. And like back in the day, people were like, oh, you're an anarchist. That's fucking cool. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Do you have any like fresh, crazy, wild anarchist ideas? And like over a period of time, like those people's voices just disappeared. And all they wanted to do was play the politics game. And we went from fighting, as it says, we're to fight the cult of the state, to emulating the cult of the state. And anybody who tried to point it out was literally just fucking shamed and booed.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we are now. Like we opened. I was there too. Like I tried to stop it, but I didn't stop it. So that's still a failure. Like we all failed to stop us being put in a position where now they can literally just put us over a barrel and say whatever they want to about it. And I mean, most people aren't going to fucking believe us if we say something else because we shouldn't have been wearing that short ass skirt.
Mm-hmm. Bryce, Archie, you have not said many
Wheelchair
words.
Party.
Sorry, I think my internet fucked up when you started speaking. Dennis.
I mean,
No, Bryce can go. I was just going to do a little history, but Bryce can go on if he wants to talk.
Yeah, and definitely keep that history in mind, because very valuable resource, your knowledge of the history here. Not, my internet fucked up. I was not aware you were talking.
I mean, yeah, to kind of reiterate what's already been reiterated several times over, the whole inviting Trump to the convention thing, there's really only one incredibly narrow path where this could go right, and about a million different fucking ways it could go wrong. Like, this is an absolute disaster. As soon as I heard that was happening, I was furious with everyone running the LNC for even considering bringing him on board for the convention to speak. And anything short of like universally booing him out of there and protesting it is going to be seen as us supporting him. And there's not a lot of ways that this can go right for us. So I'm not happy at all with it. And I feel genuinely betrayed for this happening.
Feels like such a bait and switch, We both thought we were joining the hardline anti-imperialist, anti-central banking,
And
pure liberty.
Well,
I
you
think
guys
that's
are
what
not
a lot of
alone.
people thought.
I remember that's how I felt when I joined the activist group back in 2020 that I got really involved with, and seeing that get completely subverted and gentrified by the same people doing what they're doing to y'all now was really fucking disheartening. And like I had to take like a long break because of that, because it jades you. It makes you feel like there's no hope,
Yeah.
But you just got to keep moving forward.
Two things.
It happened.
First off, this is where I will take a brief moment to say that I've been basically warning about exactly this for the past 8 years, and gradually getting more and more hate and blacklisting for it. I'll just say that. All right. And then the second thing is, Hody, I see, I think, who is one of your friends in the chat here, Chris Bennett. I don't know if you know him, but it says you're friends with Chris Bennett on Facebook. So there's a possibility that you know this person. If this is the same person, let me know in chat, Chris, and your 30 years of also experience might be very, very, interesting to address on this stream. So if you want to join Link and you're that Chris Bennett, Hody can send you a link because we're not friends. And you can also add me on there should you choose. I just want to see if you were interested. So we'll go Archie, and then Kareem, if you are listening, feel free to also, after Archie says something, feel free to start saying words, because you haven't said any words. And then we'll get to Dennis. Archie, anything?
So the the whole thing is a complete farce. Like, where do you start? Like, it's been such a big pile of turd, and now they're inviting like the biggest, single individual turd in American politics to the stage. Like, really, guys? And the gaslighting has, just gone through the roof. Like, oh, but he'll bring, a spotlight to issues into our message. No, he will not. Have you watched him, how he operates? These people in the EMC leadership are great at lying and spinning, but Trump will eat them up and spit them out. Like, his level of lying is orders of magnitude more practiced than they are. The biggest liar on the stage, they're gonna win, like, hands down. It's like Gary Kasparov walking into, a park in New York and playing chess and people not recognizing him. Like,
I will push back a little. There is still dissent within the Mises Caucus. It's not just the
that's
Mises
why I
Caucus.
said leadership.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Dennis, and then we'll get to Scott, who can introduce himself, and Kareem, I guess, is just silent. So, Dennis, history.
Well, so we have kind of a long, we have a long history of this in the LP, of stuff like this, just not having the political acumen, watching this, Republicans kind of just take over our movements and our causes year after year after year. We had 1984, where after the 1980 election, there was a big split between the Rothbardians and the Craniacs, as they were called. The Craniacs ended up walking out of the convention, going over to the Republican Party and saying, we're going to make the Republican Party libertarian. And then the remaining people, the Rothbardians, fumbled around in the Libertarian Party for a few years. Rothbard got tired of it, decided to re-embrace his old right populist views. So he went right-wing populist again. And, with him and Rockwell and Paul started pushing for Pat Buchanan in 92. And then, so there's more of that going on, right? And then, you have the 2006 you're talking about with the Portland thing. We had the Liberty Caucus that was started in the Republican Party by Ron Paul, with the explicit rule that they were no member was allowed to endorse or support any libertarian candidate ever, or they would be removed from the caucus. Then we had, in 2008, we had the Wayne Allen Root and those guys coming in from the Republican Party trying to push it and take it over again. Then we had the Tea Party movement, which is a great example of how this works. Where we had these Tea Party events every year. 2008 happens, and Obama gets elected. So in 2009, they decided to send a lot of Republican people into the Tea Party movement. They ended up taking it over, kicking out all the libertarians who were making them look bad, and just took it over and turned it into exactly what MAGA is now. It's the same movement, it's the same group of people. We fought against the John Birch Society trying to take us over in the late 70s, early 80s. We fought against this, and even in 2016, we had Liberty Hangout and a bunch of other people trying to get everybody in the Libertarian Party to go Trump at the time. This was all this right-wing populism that people have been convinced that right-wing populism is libertarian, when it's not. It's literally the exact opposite of libertarianism. Populism and libertarianism are opposite views on the scale there, and people are trying to meld those two together. That was the whole purpose behind paleo libertarianism. Is supposed to be a merging of those two ideologies, and it's flawed. It doesn't work. It's at odds with each other all the time. So then we had that with the Tea Party movement, and then we had the Mises takeover. It's the same thing all the time. And a lot of people who think that they're doing good, who think that they're joining the right way to fix things, end up joining these very right-wing populist movements, which is what the Mises Caucus was. And they bring these good people in and kind of convince them that they're doing the right thing. And it's a lack of institutional knowledge, people not understanding the history of what's going on, thinking that they can do it better, and eventually just repeating the exact same things over and over again because we don't learn our lessons.
Yeah, no, there are
Sounds like
these
a psyop.
interests that want to
I have
always
a question to
co-opt
ask
and
you in a
subvert
minute.
these movements. I don't even know how you guard against it, honestly.
I do. But
Okay.
I want to know your opinion on something as somebody who's been around for a while. Do you think that market anarchy and market minarchy was co-opted from the first, when people began trying to push the word capitalism into anarchy, who had been, anarchy had been anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist for a very long time, and even the individualist anarchists were the ones that inspired those who came up with market anarchy. Do you think that using the word capitalism was their first attempt to separate y'all from the other anarchists and turn us all against each other? Because it wouldn't be the first time they've attacked us like this.
Well, I mean, I think there's a portion of that, but it's also a lot to do with. A lot of it has to do with people like Rothbard who are just trying to figure out a way to get right. So they're re-examining the philosophy and are trying to find ways to make kind of what they want to see happen work. And so they're co-opting a lot of things. Remember, Rothbard started out courting the left, the new left as well.
Yes.
Right. And
that's why there's a lot of
found,
early Rothbardians, left libertarians.
Uh-huh.
And then he determined in his mind that wasn't working for him, that the new left had disappeared. It was no longer viable. So then he started embracing the old right. So he just kind of he's kind of switching his way around. And I don't know how much of that specifically as part of the philosophical development was planned or just him meandering around trying to find a place to find a home, find a way to become relevant when he wasn't. I mean, he gained some relevancy, but he was never what he wanted. He wanted to be much bigger and more popular than that. So I think that part of it was that, but people around him and people seeing what he was doing definitely were taking what he was saying. Yeah. Mm-hmm. and do that. And that's what happened. That's what happened with Ron Paul a lot. He'd get taken advantage of by people all the time. I mean, the guy who is running his institute right now is going on and talking about how great Putin is every other day. Right. Used to run a website called The Daily Putin. I mean, that's the sort of thing he gets involved in. And Rothbard was going to do the same thing. Rothbard let Rockwell just rip him away from a lot of principles and start embracing things that he never would have embraced before. Rothbard was huge open immigration thing. And then Rockwell comes along and just kind of tickles him along right down the path towards that status views. Right. So that's kind of how things played out. So there were people who are very smart and are pulling at the sides and they're doing a lot of things behind the scenes. You're never going to know a lot of their names. They're very quiet about it. They know how to do this without getting identified as being those people. And they just take advantage of the other people who are trying to do something else. They're trying to do something better. They're looking for some other way to do this, and they're getting whispered in their ear. And they're getting pulled away.
So 2 things.
Oh man, I know that's true. I've had people try to do that shit to me, and like it's worked at times. Like, I'm not perfect. I have been confused. I have been led astray by other, like, mostly right libertarians. I did have a left libertarian try and usher me towards tankyism at one point, but that was not even close to interesting to me. But like these people who are working on like market anarchists and trad anarchists in their spaces, they have some teaching. They're not stupid. They know the script. Now, working off the script depends on who it is. Some people can't go off the script. A lot of people don't seem to know how to do that when they're out there doing the direct feeding on everybody and shit. But like, some of them really know what they're fucking doing. And you're right. You're not going to meet most of them. Most of them are at the center of some stuff and they have a bunch of other people doing stuff around them.
Yeah. 2 things. First off, Scott, feel free to introduce. And then Hody, Chris says that that is the Chris, and you can send that Chris link to Chris up. Scott.
Hey, it's great to be back. I was listening to you guys instead of participating because I have a roaming toddler here, and I may have to dip at random depending on his whims. But yeah, I couldn't avoid it. I'm delighted to see another like very loudly anarchist person on the stream tonight. I love your that looks like an agorist, possibly an egoist A back there. Beautiful. Yeah, I just wanted to comment really quickly that the attempt by statists to take over an organization built around controlling a portion of the narrative is irrelevant, because an attempt to control a portion of the narrative or enter into an acceptable part of the mainstream narrative and the mainstream political process is inherently joining into a hierarchical process, which will always be controlled by people who operate on principles of centralized power. I mean, I had my time dallying around with the LP, but that was when I was still functionally a Republican and making my way toward better ideology. And I'm grateful to the LP for that and see that as like a continuing possible function for it. But I mean, when people are like, oh no, the Mises Caucus is here, Ron Paul is here, like they're all here, they're trying to turn us into Republicans or whatever. I mean, of course they are, because the LP project is suitable for pot smoking republicanism. It's not really suitable for functional anarchism. I mean, it could be and has been used as a like passable propaganda tool and a passable networking tool, but
Yeah.
I mean, the party is always going to be a political, and political parties are not anarchist.
Well, its worth as those
True.
things has completely diminished at this point too.
Yeah, I got involved because, networking and a propaganda tool. That's what I thought. That's what it could be used for. Maybe to, local politics to some degree. But yeah, no, I mean, I knew when I joined.
You can't.
Yeah, probably a lost cause because, yeah, of course there are going to be, mini bureaucrats running it. Of course it's going to tend towards, statism and, watering down of principles. Of course that's going to happen. It's a political party. It wasn't supposed to be a real political party, but it quickly got taken over by people who wanted to act as if it was a real political party that's trying to actually, run candidates and win elections.
Yeah, two things.
As an anarchist,
Go.
I
I
feel
think
these
that,
days like it's a.
as an anarchist, I believe in direct action, and I also believe that there's nothing that you can't do with yourself and your friends around you that are directly connected to you, that a political party can't do. So, I mean, you're just as capable with your locals, is what I'm trying to say. Like, you don't need political parties centralized somewhere to make all these changes.
Yeah.
You just need dedicated individuals, and you already have that around you.
So, I'm going to read two tweets and also then respond to one of the chat comments. And this will be in this chat. This is already fucking... How long? I think maybe this is already... Yeah, we're already an hour in. So we might just have another fucking stream.
Another one.
Yeah, fucking... to address all the comments. But yeah, so, two things. The first thing is these two tweets sum something up that people have been, interested in, curious about. And you're anarchist. Why do you care about the LP or politics in general? Is the thing that I'm routinely asked. And I'm like, I'm anarchist because of my experience in politics. I grew gradually disenfranchised and then broke off after no longer being able to justify the state. And I mean to draw in similarly disaffected folks. I'm here to prove that politics is corrupt and counterproductive to whole new generations of people and get as many people as possible on board. I will expose this machine and stand for real liberty. If that sounds good to you, let's follow each other. Glad you're on board. I'm here to prove that the ultimate truth is politics is a shit vehicle for freedom. That you aren't going to get freedom or liberty or libertarianism or anything you want from government if your goal is freedom. And that's my goal. Or one of the many corporate arms of the state, one of their banking organizations, one of their media. You have to get away from their central modus, and you have to get away from their arms of control and power. You have to get away from their mentalities and their cultures. You have to build a new, better culture. And, I've realized that because I worked with, allegedly, the most libertarian party in America, and then found out, fuck no, they aren't! I fucking worked with Young Americans for Liberty, directly campaigning for libertarian and libertarian Republican candidates, running little fucking palm cards at my table and at my college and being like, oh, I'm a chapter president, I'm gonna go to the convention, and then grease a bunch of palms and get a bunch of swag from people like literally the Charles Koch Foundation, and this is definitely gonna change fucking shit, and no, it's not. And when they fucking, basically dead silenced and didn't applaud totally reasonable things that were being said by, I think, fucking Roderick Long, I think that was who was speaking. It was a left libertarian, and he came from, I think, the C4SS, and they didn't respond well because they're fucking inculcated. And yeah, it's fucking insane. And when I started to recognize that dissonance and not dissidence, I was like, ooh, yeah, there's a problem here. I'm contributing to a problem. And it made me more and more cynical. And I was like, I'm going to look into left libertarianism. And I found out about agorism, and I found out about all these people just directly breaking the law instead of asking for permission. And I was like, that sounds like actual
Allegedly.
libertarianism.
Uh-huh. I see it all the time. People like,
Free men don't ask permission.
Yeah.
yeah, they'll be like, there's no such thing as libertarian socialism. That's an oxymoron. I'm like, God, learn your fucking roots.
Yes.
Ugh.
Go fuck yourself.
Oh,
Also,
yeah.
speaking of libertarian socialism, just quickly, Leroy Essel in chat. Welcome back. The chat is very lively when you are here. But I have to push back because Javier Milei is not a libertarian, much less the first libertarian president. So while it might be, just another
Yeah, I
nail in the
know.
Second that, as they would say.
Yeah,
yeah,
me too.
and like while I understand that it would be pretty funny to see him speak at the American Libertarian Convention too, especially since the Libertarian Party national accounts have been sucking his fucking cock for the past 8 months. Like he's still not the libertarian people say he is. And I can get into why, but I don't think I need to. I think I've said that on enough other streams, and people who are interested can check those out. I don't give enough of a fucking shit. If you want, you follow me on Twitter. You can hit up my DMs. I think you follow me, and you can find out more about that. But fuck Javier Milei. He is not even libertarian, much less the first libertarian president. I just had to say that. Also, Rose, Kareem is here, and
Yeah.
your camera is now cutting off half your face. So if you could move your phone to your left, I think it is. Okay, that works.
There we go. Yeah, here we come.
Kareem, can you talk
Yes,
now?
but you're back in the middle-ish again.
Yeah.
I need to move.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Kareem, can you talk now? I think you're the guest user, but you're muted. We gotta have you talking if you're gonna be here.
Move your big toe.
Yeah, right. I'll give him a short bit to get going. So let's just who is LJ on screen but blank? That's Lizard Jesus. That's from one of the Discord servers with which I'm affiliated. So okay, let's just go briefly over then, what our ideal vision for a libertarian. Okay, so you are unmuted now. Feel free to turn on camera. Feel free to say words, guest user.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, is that Kareem or who is it?
Oh, that's not Kareem.
No, it's not.
I think that's Chris.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is Chris Bennett.
Oh, okay, cool. Sorry, I couldn't tell who you were.
Okay. All right. So, okay, my deal is that I am African American. I've been around the libertarian movement since probably about 92-ish. I came to the Libertarian Party as a Democrat. So there was a lot of people within the Libertarian Party over the years that said that, Democrats can't be libertarians, which is false. Okay. So, I got bored with, the Democrats basically telling white people it's us or nobody, basically. So I went soul searching. And, I found the Libertarian Party. In fact, I saw a gentleman back in the day. He was running for president. In fact, it was the same year Andre Maru got the nomination in 92. His name was Dick Body. And I saw him on C-SPAN. And I was like, hey, that guy almost aligns with what I'm thinking. So I joined the Libertarian Party. in '92, I went and I helped out with the Maru campaign in Colorado. And if you guys know anything about what's going on in Colorado, my heart, we built that party up so much the years I was involved there, and now it's gone to the toilet. Anyway, let's fast forward. I got involved with the local stuff, and through my years, and then I actually was a volunteer on Aaron Russo campaign in '04. That was my first LP convention. We didn't win, obviously, but a lot of us wound up helping Michael Bednarik because he didn't have an infrastructure. It was just him and I forgot the other person, and they didn't have an infrastructure. So both campaigns, competing campaigns, kind of got together and helped out, and I think that was a wonderful thing. Especially after all the accusations from the 2000 campaign. You can read history on that probably a little later, or later on down the road. So in '06, that's when the shit hit the fan.
Portland Purge?
The Portland Convention. The Portland Convention literally watered down the libertarian platform, and that was because we got infiltrated by a lot of conservatarians, and plus 4 years prior to that, Ron Krickenberger, he was on the staff at LP. They ran anti drug war ads against Bob Barr when he ran for when he was running for re-election for Congress, and which caused him to lose. So who shows up 4 years later on the LNC? Bob Barr. So, and then 2 years after that, Bob Barr said everything that he wanted to that he could say to win the nomination, and then he goes on CNN or whoever the next day saying, "Oh well, I don't believe in that stuff." So the bait and hook, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So
many such cases.
It happens, and that's where I think the downfall happened with '06. We thought maybe during the Sarwalk years things might have, maybe increased. I mean, Gary Johnson had record numbers and stuff like that. But I think the libertarian philosophy kind of, as more people tried to align themselves, however, wherever, with libertarianism, I think it was still water. I think people thought, oh, that's the new thing, being a libertarian. So everybody was calling them libertarians, even though they weren't libertarians. So and for me, as I as the internet grew, basically, you run into people saying, so and so, why don't you go back to the Democrat Party? Blacks aren't allowed in the Libertarian Party. Or I had an argument with Wayne en route in 2010 at the St. Louis convention. Okay, and he's going around. I had a blog back in the day. In fact, the first blog I was on was Hammer of Truth. Right after the '04 election, and then I started a blog about 2 years after that, and I wrote about the hypocrisies of these new libertarians that were being introduced, and So, and then, you know, some people, a lot of people will accept you. Some people just think they have a narrow-minded view on who deserves to be free. And I could just go on and on and on about a lot of stuff, but I'm no longer affiliated with the LP. I just it was my home for over almost 30 years. So
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to know more, I could tell more, but I don't want to take up the time here. But
Well, and we'll definitely
I gotta.
we'll definitely be tapping your information here, because like there's a shit ton that experience can teach. And also, let me just say, I think something that's real emblematic of how things have gotten is the libertarians are allegedly the most pro-gun motherfuckers out there. Allegedly. Allegedly. That's my little cock-sucking blubbering noise for saying the thing that isn't true. Because the Libertarian Party and libertarians outside the party are so cucked to Republicans and the right in general that when an illegal immigrant like used a gun in self-defense in order to defend himself and was like basically there were no charges, the charges were dropped because that was a clear-cut case of self-defense, and the fact that he was carrying a gun like illegally because he wasn't allowed to have one is the thing that so many people are being like, oh, I don't want to arm invaders. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. This is good for you. This is good for all of us. If they make rulings that say that it's okay to have a gun illegally if you use it for self-defense, that is case law now, you dumb motherfucker. Use it instead of saying because they're brown you're scared, you piece of shit. And I think that's so true of so many of these fucking people. They don't like armed trans people. They don't like armed,
No.
They don't like armed
They
women.
throw a fit.
They don't like armed people who aren't exactly them. Guns are a power source for them, and they are concentrating power because they're fascist pieces of shit. And so I just thought I'd bring that up. I really had to fucking bring that up because I've heard too much about that shit lately, and it's angering.
Yeah, those dumb fucks are always on the internet screaming, fuck around and find out, fuck around and find out. One trans person shows up with a meme going, fuck around and find out, and they're like, they're gonna kill us all!
Yeah!
They can't
fuck
because
them.
they're mentally
Fuck
ill.
that.
They can't have the
And,
mental
bro, Chris, you are absolutely right about the 2006 thing. I'm consistently telling people that's when they began to destroy the Accord, and that was when it all went. That was where it all started. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that's where it started.
Yep.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, Rose.
Oh, you didn't.
I did.
You unmuted for like half a second, and then you muted again. I don't know if you meant to do that, Chris.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you know the history, and there's people out there, the Mises Caucus, okay, they're trying to erase the history.
Yes.
And it's disheartening because I've been a part of organizations within the Libertarian Party, like state parties, county chapters, and plus like stuff like that, where the information is not shared. So party goes down. I've been here in Illinois for 20 years. I was on the board during our dark ages, which was like between 2002 and 2008ish, where the knowledge was not passed on to people who are taking over, and then what happens? You have to start from scratch again. So and people a lot of people come and go. I mean, it is true that 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people. So
less, to be honest.
If less, right? So that institutional knowledge is something that I feel libertarians don't really have a grasp on, unless that is something that you are that's something that you have being involved for so long.
Well, the Mises Caucus was originally full of all sorts of, highly principled anarchists who wanted to get rid of, some of the more, watered down, milquetoast beltway type libertarians who had been watering down the messaging. So I don't entirely agree that they want to get rid of the history. Over time, a lot of them have disappeared for one reason or another. Like when I joined the New York chapter, like the person who originally started it was, had a lot in common with me. Similar, basically similar philosophy. All in all, there were several people who had a similar political backstory as I did. The numbers have really dwindled, and I've noticed less and less tolerance of dissent.
A party that like blocks me in their caucus, like Facebook page, on their Twitter Facebook page, kicks me out of their group.
We're fine with it. Yeah.
Yeah, just like I wonder if those people have some sort of problem with messaging and they don't want people criticizing that. It couldn't be. Yeah, go ahead.
You weren't even that critical. It was just, your last posts there were just critical of Millet.
Yeah, I can't.
Someone just decided you were a troublemaker, which,
Yeah, speaking of Millet,
not entirely
there's some
accurate.
Millet simp in the comments. Holy crap.
Who is it?
It's,
I don't know, like somebody who's willing to trade I guess ease of crypto, willing to overlook Zionism and the militarization of police and all this other shit for crypto.
And not even like fully crypto either.
With the Mises Caucus, when they first came in, was that they were getting rid of all the people who had been around before, saying that you are all the problem, even though we're saying we have this knowledge. What you're trying to do isn't going to work the way you're trying to do it. We know because we've tried it before. Listen to what we're trying to tell you so that you can get your accomplished goal in a way that's going to succeed, have a better chance to succeed. And we were all told to pound sand and get out, right?
I think
and that was the frustration.
Yes, there's some people who need to go, but not all. I understand where you're coming from.
But yeah, I would talk to. That was the main thing I had a problem with. Who was running for chair that first year? I can't remember his name for some reason.
Joshua Smith.
Joshua Smith. Him and I got into it huge way early on because he was saying things that were politically stupid. And I told him he had no political acumen. You don't come in being a complete neophyte to politics and try to run as chair of the party. Do something else, learn something, become better. And he took that as a personal assault. And him and I never got along. So, but people like that, even people I know, people who I had relationships with and worked with on a podcast network, were telling me that I should be kicked out of the party. And it's just like, I don't understand, because, and it's not like I'm some sort of, they were calling me like a leftist libertarian and everything. It's a kind of a joke that we have in We're Libertarian style, is that I'm the liberal. When I take my political compass test, I'm like right down the middle, completely libertarian with the teeniest bit to the right. Right. And it's like, you're sitting there telling me I'm a liberal just because you don't want me to tell you that you're doing wrong. And that's what they didn't like, is I would say you're doing this wrong.
It's common.
You're repeating the same mistakes we've already learned from. And then they started kicking people off of the administration staff that had all this knowledge and done all this work, and they just got rid of those people because they weren't appropriate enough, right? So it's just that was the frustrating part, mostly about all of that, because the way I looked at it before was that we had a libertarian movement that had a lot of different people in it. We had Radical Caucus, we had all these different types of people in the movement, right? The left caucus, the right, we had the Ron Paul people. So we were all trying to work together, right? And the idea that they had was they were going to come in, it was going to be just them. Everybody else could pound sand. And that's not the way it should have been. It should have been, you come in as a group, get your ideas across. If your ideas are better ones, we're going to implement them. But by doing that push out of everybody else, it caused a lot of people to leave and a lot of institutional knowledge to go with it, right? And I think that's where you end up with people who really don't understand politics now in charge of it and doing things like inviting Trump to the convention because they don't know any better. And we can say, we try to tell you, but
Or
that's just the way.
and let me just let me
accounts that vote for everyone.
Let me just say, I'm still the cynical conspiracy theorist asshole I always was, and I think they know exactly what they're doing, and they have no problem emulating the Nazis and the Night of the Long Knives.
Oh, yeah.
I think they have no problem cutting off the left wing of
Me
anything that they can get their hands on because they're fascist pieces of shit.
How many do you think are?
I don't think that they all know.
Oh.
Some of them are just pawns. But I think the people who are pushing it from, those people you were talking about that, like, nobody ever fucking really sees, and they're pushing the buttons in the back and stuff like that. Those people are there, and those are the ones that are doing this to people on purpose.
One of their names is fucking Malagon. You name your villain in your story Malagon.
I do have to say there is an accusation.
Dead. Part of their MO is to infiltrate groups and subvert them and draw uneducated people into what they have to say and their ideology in order to breed numbers.
Yep.
Yes, they will get rid of the educated people.
Constantly have to be like cautious of them.
Dennis.
There is an accusation out there. Some people have noticed a very interesting trend that donations to the Mises Caucus PAC ebb and flow with when Steve Bannon is in jail.
That'd be an interesting thing to look at.
I highly
That's an interesting pattern.
I mean, I think that's a lot like that. That they're just Republican entryists. That makes no sense. Why would they want to attract Republican voters and split the Republican vote?
They wouldn't.
They're not doing that. Look at all the places where they're coming in and saying, "Oh, if we have a libertarian candidate, we'll just not run a libertarian." This happened after there was a loss by Trump in 2020 where they blamed Libertarian Party for this, right?
Yeah,
so now they come in and they tear up. Look at what's happened. The Libertarian Party's tore apart. It's been factionalized. It is not effective anymore. We had
the loss.
We had at one point before the takeover, we had hundreds of libertarians elected in offices all over the country, and the statement was we were going to come in and we're going to make that bigger. And now it's smaller. There's much fewer libertarians elected to office now across the country, and this is like 101 of what the Republicans do. And they take your movement, they take it over, and then they push. Look what happened. Like I said, look what happened to the Tea Party. It's the same thing that's happening. They're coming in, they're taking it, and then they're moving people back over to say, go vote for our guy. Let's go vote for Trump. Mm-hmm. This is all planned out.
Well, that's like big corporate money, like the Kochs coming in and taking, infiltrating a movement and, basically neutering it so that it's not actually anti-establishment, that it can be, used or wielded to serve their interests, such as pushing, certain deregulation that'll benefit them, pushing things like personhood and other stupid shit.
The modern fascist's favorite weapon is corporativism.
Yeah, a lot of the biggest donors that left the Libertarian Party, though, were the major corporate donors. I think that's part of the reason why there was such a drop in donation money. So initially,
the people replacing that money are trying to push the things now are the right wing populists, the MAGA guys. Steve, the Bannons, those guys are pushing the money. When he's not in jail, the number of $100 donations explodes and then he goes into jail, and they all just go away.
I have yet to encounter a genuine Trump supporter within the Mises Caucus, though. Like, a lot of them are, again, stupidly thinking that the whole Trump speaking at the LNC could be a good thing because it'll make us relevant and it'll gain us the ability to question him or other things that are just straight up delusional. But I have yet to see anyone who, like, supports him and
I have.
win.
I have encountered them personally as well. Like, there's quite a few of these MC relevant people who actually even post Trump shit on their stuff. Like,
And even if they're not Trump, be Trump over Biden, and those are the ones they're trying to pick.
well, yeah,
They're
yeah.
trying to say,
And
we'll scare him, and then we let's get everybody. The only way you're going to keep Biden from winning is to support Trump, and we can do this. And this was even stated in the press release. We could do this if we join together and all just support Trump.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting everything in place, and I guarantee you, that weekend there's going to be a push to get him on the ballot for the Libertarian Party. I'm not saying it'll succeed. I'm not saying it's not doomed to failure. I don't know. I'm just saying that there's going to be a try.
Guess we'll see. Yeah, like I'm not close to it. I try to stick to criticisms that I know are accurate rather than
Sure.
Rather than some of the more outlandish claims.
It would be interesting to pull at that thread, is what I'll say about that. I'm not sold, but it would be interesting to pull at that thread, and I am open. Yeah. See that information.
Well, and not all of them are like going Trump, Trump, Trump. Some of them are being like, I'm a libertarian. And then you hand them a microphone and everything that comes out of their mouth is from Carlson.
Yep.
That's an issue, yes.
Yep.
A lot of them have absorbed.
So it doesn't matter what you call yourself. How do you call yourself a tulip? Like I said yesterday, I was like, you can call fascism whatever the fuck you want, but it's going to always be fascism.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Right. If we want to have our liberties, we have to not have degeneracy in our society or some shit like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He'll just
I mean these mentally ill people. Words. Yeah.
I mean the same CPAC that cheered for the eradication of trans people from public life is the same CPAC that Trump and Malay just met at to glad hand along with fucking Vivek Ramaswamy and like so many these other people. Like, these are all parts of the same fucking echo chamber, the same toxic fascist fucking echo chamber, and they're all part of the same group.
Mm-hmm.
And then Trump comes over here, he gets a speaking role. Vivek gets floated as a libertarian candidate and allowed, support in libertarian circles, and, RFK Jr. for similar reasons, and all these Republicans and libertarians are like, well, but what if you just painted yourself yellow just long enough to disguise yourself, and then we got a libertarian victory, and you expelled the wokes and militarized the border and went to war with Mexico, and we don't fucking care, we have no principles, we're here to jack off probably to children because we're too much in this invested camp of bullshit. I fucking hate him. I hate him. Anyway, so like the general like vibe.
So do you like them?
See, there are some people in the Mises Caucus that are redeemable, and I'm not saying that like all of them are like just atrocious trash.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
There are people brought in. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to say
there are a lot of good people.
Yeah. And so, like, Rose is Mises Caucus. Kareem was Mises Caucus. I think he dropped it. Fucking
officially? I didn't know.
Yeah, he's officially declared
Archie
himself.
was Mises Caucus.
Yeah, and Hody was as well. Kareem officially not only dropped Mises Caucus, but declared himself an ANCOM the other day, instead of an ANCAP.
I saw that.
Yeah. And so
wait, who did that?
Kareem Mays.
Fucking cool. Glad to have another one.
So it's like
he'll probably get kicked out for being too woke or something.
Yeah.
I probably will eventually too.
So even just being associated with me has got people talking about you behind your back. It's almost guaranteed. For those of you who don't know, also welcome to the.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like welcome to the like I guess the blacklist just got a little blacker, Chris. Because you are added to that blacklist now of people who talk to me and
blacker than blacklist.
Yeah, right. So
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what? I've been on that blacklist for years.
Yeah.
So I mean, even before the Mises Caucus took over, okay, I've been kicked out. I was kicked out of the Radical Caucus. Okay, so I mean,
Being too
Too
radical.
So-
radical for the Radical Caucus. Damn.
no, it was for something different, and I got a lot of enemies out there. Okay,
Good.
but I also have a lot of friends.
Good.
I also have a lot
Yeah.
of friends. Okay, so and to go back to I made a joke like on X, or I'm gonna still call it Twitter.
I do too.
All right,
Fuck Elon
That-
Musk. Fascist
that-
piece of shit.
that since yeah that now that they're losing a lot of members, a lot of money. Okay, what are they trying to do? Go after the Vanguard and the Stormfront money? I mean,
Yes!
I lost a lot.
That's
of
exactly
friends.
what it is.
I lost a lot of friends that I knew for years. And then they pop up all of a sudden quoting stuff from Alex Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fun.
Some of the racist magazines
Mm-hmm.
saying that I'm not a white supremacist, I'm a race realist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'm scratching my head like, that was tried back in the 90s with Charles Murray. You understand that, right? With the whole IQ crap. Okay, so
Same thing.
I mean, and then from afar, there's a certain people that want to, kind of diversify the LP, so they don't, so the LP doesn't look like they're going after the same group over and over and over again. So when you try to do that, okay, like during the 2020 election, look at Spike. And I think Spike has jumped the shark a little bit. Okay. All right. Look at Spike. He went out and he tried to recruit, okay, people who normally would not vote for the LP. Okay. He went and spoke at I think a thing in, I think it was either Cincinnati or Cleveland or something, or Columbus or something, with the Black Lives Matter group. Oh no, well, you're associating yourself with them. Oh, I guess you're just a Marxist. You're reached the Marxist now, and it's just like, it's like no. Just because you reach out to others who, may not vote libertarian, that doesn't make you a Marxist.
And
Okay.
let me be
And I
super
think-
clear here.
and I think
if you do reach out to these people and you're trying to get like your message in front of more eyes and somebody doesn't like that, they can go fuck themselves. That's the real shit. If Spike is reaching out to Marxists
Yeah.
and you're afraid that he's going to become a Marxist, it's because you're a weak bitch who can't convince him otherwise. Go ahead. Sorry, Chris.
it's okay. I mean, and that kind of disheartened me, because it was the first time in a long time that someone on the ticket, okay, on the presidential ticket, that was actually reaching out to people not like the same demographic that the LP has been reaching out to for the last 50 years. I've met one of the founders of the LP. I met David Nolan. Okay. All right. David Nolan and I were good friends. All right. So right now he's probably rolling in his grave. Okay. Noticing everything that's going on here. Okay. And I feel bad that that some of us old timers weren't able to keep the LP what the LP should be. Okay. But it's so disheartening that you spend more than a third of your life holding on to certain principles and, helping people try to get elected and all that kind of stuff, educating people. And I feel like my almost 30 years of has gone to the trash bin. So,
and it's largely because
Well,
of
it
funding
hasn't,
and like
because
people
those
involved in the funding and the support mechanisms. It's literally the fucking chorus to Wu-Tang's Cream. That's all you need. Fred, go ahead.
I feel
well,
that
y-
sentiment
I
very
just
strongly too. So
I just want to say that your shit hasn't gone to the garbage. Like, it was people like y'all who came and like backed up people like us and taught us about what had happened and about what was going on. Um, and helped us to like scream in the right direction and bang on the right walls as best as we could. And like, people who really know what the principle is, people who really know what that's like. Y'all were the ones that came to the street. When I mentioned earlier that, like, when I begged libertarians to come to the street with me in 2020, I was out here talking to people on the streets, and they were talking about, they weren't Marxists, they were talking about fucking extending the local dollar life and stuff like that. And I was trying to like video this, and they wouldn't even watch the videos. Like, there were literally only 3 people who came out. Thank you, Ricky. Thank you. But there were not a lot of people here who would come out. And like, the COVID thing was terrible. It was awful. Our state chair told us that it had been decided that because the media was so wild on this, that the best idea was to lay low, let it all blow over, and then come out and tell everybody, see, this is exactly what we've been talking about all along. And I was like, and of course they had, because they paused and looked right at me and went, does anyone have a problem with that? And I was like, yeah, because it's not libertarian, first off, and y'all are hiding from the media. And if we stay quiet this whole time and come out and fucking speak later, all they're going to do is laugh at you. Because you didn't follow through with the things that you keep telling other people to do. You want to sit in your tower and tell people it'll be okay, you can mutual aid people cake. But they never do the mutual aid. They never hit the streets. And they go after people who do.
I want to talk about how, libertarianism for me personally was a very large stepping stone into anarchism. And I know that I am not personally the only one in that boat. So, I don't know, just because the Libertarian Party as a whole has failed doesn't mean that you didn't help drag people towards anarchy, which is honestly something that I could thank the Libertarian Party for doing, because they do it.
I frequently say similar things. Yeah, I mean, it can be a decent front for education. Though in my case, I went from, ANCOM to Democrat to, Ron Paul type minarchist back to market anarchist. But so it was just me mostly returning back to where I had been. But I mean, I do know of plenty of libertarians who, had been, just regular Democrats or Republicans, then discovered, minarchism, then moved towards anarchism. So it can be a useful stepping stone, I think. So I agree with that, definitely.
And as to that,
just don't feel like your life is wasted. That's just what I want to say.
Yeah, and as to that, so let's have a quick back and forth, a couple minutes per, between Chris and Dennis about some talking shop about the old stuff, like how things have been repeating, what you've noticed been repeating, and just for 10 minutes we'll take this segment break for Dennis and Chris to shoot the shit. Because both of you, if I understand correctly, have a very similar level of experience.
Yeah, I mean, you see this stuff happen. Like I said, you just see and when I first started into the movement, because once I realized I was a libertarian, what that meant, because I was always kind of a libertarian, but I didn't know that there was such a thing. I just thought I was weird, right? But once I found out there was a thing, so I get involved and I'm looking around, and one of the first things I start doing is trying to defend Ron Paul's new letters, right? And and defend Rockwell and Rothbard trying to push everything to the right. And I'm just like, well, they're trying to just, I had to come to the conclusion that that's not what was going on. Right. So that they were just abandoning principles in order to get power. And then it's just frustrating to see such a simple idea that I admit, when I look at libertarianism, I say things like, it's a simple idea, and if you can come to a different position on something, but you're coming to it through that simple idea, you just happen to see it a little bit differently, I can respect that. But it's the people who just kind of say they believe in libertarianism, but they want this one thing to be this way, or they want this other thing to be this way. That's the problem. When I first got in, we were fighting against the appearance that we were just, John Birch Society guys, right? We're just a bunch of Birchers. And, you have to fight against that. And it's like, no, and you spend all this time fighting against it to try and change the perception of it. And then you see things happen like 2006, or, what he was mentioning with Barr and Alan Wayne Root, this just, infiltration and people who are like not making it in the Republican Party and want to get a name for themselves and try to, eke out some notoriety. They'll switch over to the Libertarians because Libertarians have been doing some good stuff. Let's get over there and get involved. And the Tea Party movement was a big deal for me because you see it in play. I saw it on the boards happening because I was involved with the Tea Party movement early on. And then I would just see these Republicans coming in and starting to take over because they started getting numbers, because there was a lot of money being pushed in the background to do that, to fund it, right? And that was the thing, is they were talking about how this was a grassroots movement, and it wasn't. It was completely not that. It was AstroTurf to death. And I just, you see the same things repeating. And I saw that when we started with the Mises Caucus, when they were taking over the party. It's like, they're literally saying, what we're seeing happen before.
Yeah,
they're going to do the same thing.
And real quick, 30 seconds, because I want this to be primarily you and Chris, and so Chris can respond after this. Just, in order to get a table at YAL conventions for your organization, business, etc., jack-off motion, you have to pay them money, and they have to endorse your organization enough to mean that you're there. And one of the organizations that had a table at a YAL convention when I was still doing that, which YAL is a direct affiliate of the Libertarian Party and routinely assists them in their activism, the John Birch Society, Charles Koch Foundation, so many of these organizations that are directly the kind of things that libertarians have been fighting against the image of forever, and they're just let in. Just had to say that.
And I'm watching people who I know getting pulled into this this specific organization right now. It's a website that's like trying to do news media and putting out messaging, right? And they've moved from circles that I usually were in, and now they're getting pulled into this little realm, along with like a TJ and TJ Roberts, who him and I got into a huge thing years and years ago, but we finally kind of buried the hatchet. I still disagree with him completely on a billion things, but I think we interviewed him at 2018. Anyway, people like him, I think Peterson writes for this blog, and now like Nichols and Remzo, those guys are writing for him, and it's run by Cliff Maloney.
Mm-hmm. Are you talking about the Libertarian Republican?
No, it's called AMP America now.
Wait, it's called AMP America now? That would be hilarious. Holy shit!
The organization he's doing now, AMP America, and it's run by Cliff Maloney, who is a piece of shit, and as a Republican, and he's getting money. He's getting funded to do this, and he's putting out, like, writing an art for him, you get $250, but you have to retweet everything he says.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's just frustrating to see. You can see the money being brought in from the Republican Party to infiltrate into these ideas and try to pull it back towards that right-wing populism, the MAGA side of things, the Republicanism, that they're just trying to pull people away into it. So you infiltrate in, you say, oh yeah, we agree. But there's this one thing, kind of, you want to think about this and move it over, and they just pull people over more and more into that realm. And pretty soon they're saying, well, why don't we have Trump? We should support him to get Biden out. Because these people are looking at it as and this is the funniest thing I've ever seen, is that they can't stand Marxism, right? They're very anti-Marxism. They're also very anti-elite. They want the common man to be in charge. That's what populism is, right? The populism is the common man should be the ones running things, and the elites are the ones destroying everything.
Allegedly.
And it's literally the bourgeoisie against the proletariat. It's exactly what Marx was writing about. And they're fucking just saying, we hate Marx, but let's do all this Marx stuff.
And they're siding with the elites.
You can't make it up. You know? It's irritating to see, because everybody deserves to be criticized when they're wrong, and everybody deserves to be raised up when they're right. It doesn't matter about any of that stuff, whether they're elite or they're common or whatever. It should be, what's the best ideas? Give us the best ideas and let's go there. It's what individualism is supposed to be about, and that's what we were supposed to be for, is individualism. And they're just doing group politics, playing people against each other in order to get their little power brokerage up.
But we're hitting the left from the left, you liberal. Chris, you got words?
Yeah. Gosh, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, I'm just a straight-laced libertarian. Okay. I mean, I'm probably an old style libertarian, because that's the people that I grew. That's the people who taught me. That's the same people that, threw books at me, saying, okay, learn economics, learn this, learn that, learn this, learn that. And yeah, I kind of dipped my toe in the anarchism, but I just want people just to respect the individual. I mean, I don't care about group stuff. I mean, for the longest time, it seemed like the libertarians were trying to carry, at least the Libertarian Party was catering to this certain segment, or this certain segment, or this certain segment, or this certain segment. Shouldn't we all be free? I mean, we didn't get to $8+ trillion overnight. Okay, all right. It's been growing and growing and growing and growing. We didn't get from fighting in the Boston Harbor over a 3-cent tax on tea to paying almost half your income to the state overnight. Okay, but at the same time, though, I think the Libertarian Party and libertarians need to be more practical on the approach. All right, I mean, not everything's got to be political. I will join hands with my anarchist friends. Okay, if they want to do something that like the whole garden stuff and the raw milk and stuff like that you should be guaranteed to do without having government permission. It's your body. Okay, you should be able to ingest whatever you want, but it also comes with consequences. Okay, if you're willing to take the risk and the consequence, that's your choice. Okay, however, when you see groups, wayward groups like the New Hampshire Party putting out stuff that is just, it's an abomination, and then they're just like, no, we just want the Libertarian Party to be this you know, just close group of people, but yet stuff like that is bringing in the wrong people. Wrong people.
Well,
Biggest-
yeah, I mean,
Bigotry is still irrational and repugnant. All right.
Yep.
So, and my heart sank when they took that out of the platform.
that was
Yeah.
when I turned away. I couldn't help anymore.
Copyright is good, but that did
My
not.
my heart sank. Okay.
I cried, and I still cry about
I couldn't
it
do it
sometimes.
anymore. After that, I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, I walked away when that happened too, and I made a statement about it, and only Mises Caucus people attacked me.
And like in some ways,
They told me I should have left silently.
That's bullshit. In some ways, like I kind of get it because, unfortunately, look, it is true that there is an element of the performative woke social justice warrior type stuff even within the Libertarian Party, and there had been for a while. They would go around calling the actual anti-war people bigots or Russian assets, or before that, what would it have been? Assad simps or Saddam Hussein lovers, whatever the current conflict was, and just like needlessly calling people racist. So that's part of the justification that I heard for removing that plank was the fact that the term bigot had been thrown around so frequently that it was just being thrown at people who it did not describe. And that was part of the
I
motivation.
didn't get that part of the LP. When did that happen?
But no, I know.
I don't remember that.
I have
I
encountered
think that like people like to throw around those words and accusations and
which ones
without understanding what they mean.
Formative wokeness?
Oh, just any
Well-
like bigot, Nazi. The current one is pedo.
Oh yeah.
Like all these words are thrown around, and part of me thinks that that's part of like a state of psyop on people,
Well,
because as
yeah.
the more you falsely accuse people of these things, the less meaning it has, and the less weight that the accusation carries. And that means that the people who are actually these things have a curtain to hide behind, and they're more effectively to sneak around and push their ideas on people.
The people who
Well,
were
I mean,
bigots or racists are also the same people who were putting Ukraine flags in their profile pictures. So, like, they no objection to them being thrown out of the party. But I'm just saying, like, that's kind of what provided some of the motivation for people to support the removal of that plank. Again, like, the optics of it were terrible. The rewrite I do like the rewrite, but that was kind of a compromise. I mean, Spike Cohen wrote that as a compromise. They originally were just going to replace it with nothing, from what I understand.
Well,
most of my
I'm gonna jump in here.
experience.
go.
Yeah, I'm going to push back on that. Yes, a lot of people did throw around racist and bigot too much, but where there's fire, there's going to be smoke. Roger Roots is on a national level committee. Roger Roots is one of the worst racists I have ever encountered in my life. And I will die on that hill.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need a link to some of his material, I can get it for you after the chat.
Sure. I don't know him super well. Inclined to believe that.
And
I know a little.
and a constant thing on my Twitter is a lot of paleos will say, "Oh, you call people racist too easily." Blah 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 blah. Quote me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Quote me.
I've been there
They
before.
never
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They
think
never
That's what
can
I
quote
was
me
gonna say.
because when I talk about, for instance, Dave Smith, I say adjacent to, because he is adjacent to Nick fucking Fuentes, to Owen fucking Benjamin. He invited Christopher Cantwell and Richard Spencer onto a podcast that he sub-hosted for Gavin McInnes. That's definitely racist adjacent.
Oh, what year was that, though? 'Cause
That's
Chris-
not
2017.
racist. Gavin McInnes is a white supremacist. He platformed white supremacy. That is not adjacent. That
Dave-
is beyond the
Dave
line.
Smith,
he
I'm
had
talking
been
about.
threatened years ago, and then then the Proud Boys were formed, and from what I understand, Dave thought the whole idea.
I'm not calling Gavin McInnes racist adjacent.
Well, he is.
I'm
Well,
calling
he's
Dave
a white
Smith.
supremacist.
Yes, he is. I'm calling Dave Smith racist adjacent because he went on Gavin McInnes' show and invited Richard Spencer and Christopher Cantwell on.
Oh, and hey,
Yes.
That's not adjacent actions. Those
Right.
are active actions. Those are not accidents. He's not stupid.
oh, and just to be clear, hey Dave, I hear you're in Spokane right now. If you're pissed off about what this stream is saying about you, you know where to go. Anyway, yeah.
I don't engage in this
Oh.
game where I accuse people of holding specific views or agreeing with people just because they have talked to them or appeared on podcasts.
I don't think it's a game. I don't think it's a game at all.
Yeah, it's a stupid game.
But I was going to say, the
When he
thing
goes
I was
to-
kind of referencing was like, for example, like someone would reference, Ron Paul talking about the anti-war messages that he spread. And I still think, that moment where he called out Giuliani on national television at the Republican debates was one of the most beautiful moments in television history as far as political moments go. But you could not bring that up without some asshole being like, yeah, but he's racist. He specifically said racism was a particularly ugly form of collectivism. So this is kind of what I'm talking about. This is what provided just enough fuel for people to think that it was a good idea to, say, delete the bigotry plank. Hey, this kind of thing is counterproductive.
Like
I don't
most of
think
my
it is
experiences
counterproductive.
with people complaining about the extra wokeness and stuff like that were mostly just complaining about there being too many queer people. And I got,
There's been
you
some
know,
saying that's not everyone who complained about. I'm not talking
well,
about
that's why I said most
performative wokeness.
that I've experienced.
Fear performative wokeness. Yeah.
I think
I
that
saw
it is
what
good to
happened.
consider that. I'm sorry, I can wait if you wanted to throw something in real quick.
I was just gonna say I saw how Brianna Coyle was treated in 2022 at that convention as well. So I mean,
Yeah,
this is,
now Brianna Coyle's a Democrat.
Congratulations, you did it.
Pretty young though. I mean, she's
Got her kicked
in
out.
that
Yeah.
case the same trajectory that I took.
Oh,
why would you stay
yeah,
with
but
the
she's
party when
behaving
you're
just
treated
like
the way
them
she
now.
was?
Because if you say something that challenges her ideas, she blocks you. Like
Yeah,
she's been
sure.
radicalized into being
Sure,
just like them.
Pretty sure she unfriended me because I said something on one of her posts about statist bullshit straw men of anarchists that she may or may not someday see the Democrats for what they are. We all had to come to that realization.
I think that it is really important to consider that we have the state and the media for a while now calling and categorizing libertarians of market libertarians and stuff as far right extremists. And we have media pushing it. And alongside the media, like it's a script, you have these individuals and groups coming in and saying things and making these things real.
Mm-hmm.
And they're changing the ideas of things. And one of the major tactics that I have noticed is that the fash that are amongst the left will begin to scream and demonize a person and push that person away from the left, quote unquote left. It's not the real left. That's capitalism too.
Yes.
But they get pushed away from the statist left and they are reeling and going, why are they calling me a Nazi? I just asked a question. And then you get the far right behind you going, hey, I'll catch you, bro. And they're like, oh, hey, thanks. You're not so bad. And they're like, yeah, they call me a Nazi too. But underneath this guy's jacket is a fucking Nazi swastika tattoo. And he's sweet talking you and getting wholesome with you and giving you mutual support and everything like that. And these people don't tell you they're a Nazi. They do it with Trojan stuff. They Trojan it in with things that sound reasonable. So like while everybody is like trying to tell everybody that the libertarians of the market and are fascist already, and they're being pushed towards the fascists, and the fascists are in their spaces and stuff. Like, this is a massive siege. And to pretend that it is anything other than an intentional siege upon the libertarians of the right, like the market libertarians and trad libertarians, this isn't just a party thing. This happens outside of the party. This happens in independent movements. This happens just in Discord servers. It's everywhere. Everywhere. That everywhere I have fucking been for a while, it is fucking there. We cannot find spaces where this shit is not at. And it started out as a trickle.
Mm-hmm.
And people wouldn't protect their spaces, and they didn't understand that you don't sacrifice the integrity of your personal/private property to allow another person their free speech in your space. Like, if someone comes in and rubs shit all over your foyer, you do not let them come back. You throw them out. But these people weren't doing these things. They were being called out for being too contrary, causing drama. I can't believe everything is racist, blah, 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 blah. And they end up, you're creating the infighting by pointing out the fascism or the statism. And so, like, people began to become normalized and tolerant to these things. And it became, and then so they would put more and more until we have libertarian spaces all over the fucking place that look like Gab.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the other side of the
And
coin that I
that's
was
terrible.
mentioning earlier about how the overuse of accusations and words might be a fucking psyop to infiltrate these spaces.
Oh yeah.
Because then
Well, it helps them believe
the
fascism
actual
is
people that are
real.
like that are able to turn around and go like, oh, well, everything is now like us just being racist, and look how ridiculous they're being. Like, I really think that some of those people making those accusations are the ones like overusing those words to like set that precedent in people's mind.
Oh yeah.
Well, also, one of the other things they like to do is they zero in on the older people and the people who have been around more and the people who are super educated about this shit, and they work them hard. And I mean, like, all sorts of fucking shit, like some really fucked up shit. They'll go into your real life and, like, I don't want to get too specific, but they will go into your real life and fuck it up and stuff like that too. And they will drive these people from the movements, drive these people from the communities, drive these people from the LP until there's no one left to fucking speak up against them. And usually, like, at this point, there's not enough. And even if everybody came back, it's too late. We should have started doing this like 13 years ago.
Yep.
Some of us tried.
And like,
yes, you did. Yes, you did. And I was there and I was trying, and there were a lot of people trying, but it was too big. We didn't do it. We failed.
Yeah,
and the only thing that we can do is try and stop it from taking more people with it.
And like, real quick, so the first thing that I want to say...
I'm sorry. I wish I could hug you, man.
Two things. The first thing that I want to say is that, like, actively, the Libertarian Party, New Hampshire right now, is retweeting people like...
is definitely part of it.
Is retweeting people like 9mm SMG, a no-Nazi, and also supporting people like N of One at the Liberty Plus thing, which is basically a front for people like anarcho-fascist, Nullius Maximus, and, you know, also Chase Racials and a bunch of other, like, white nationalists. And those people are most active in social media on Gab. So the LPNH is supporting people who literally are Gab. They are represented by Gab. And they are, like, heavily, like, catering and cucking to Gab sorts.
Well, yeah, because freedom of speech was one of the major first ways that they started to really get into these spaces. Not only did they use it as a talking point, but they used it as a way to bully people who didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I hate that. People will try to use freedom of speech, like they'll try to weaponize your belief in freedom of speech to prevent you from... you can say what you want, but I do not have to associate you or, allow you in my circles. Like, that is the libertarian position. But I have this argument so often with people, like in, for example, a Facebook group I help run, where I'm like, I eventually just implemented a rule. I'm like, okay, I'm not have any more pro-Israel talking points in here because I'm really fucking sick of these apex
It's
shells.
Zionism.
Yeah, okay, it's not compatible with any of the ideologies that are under discussion here. It doesn't belong here.
Yeah.
And also, APEC has one of the most sophisticated social media trolling operations in the world, and has for, like, well over a decade. So, and I had these morons arguing me. They're like, oh, so you don't support free speech? I'm like, they can start their own group whenever they want. Okay, go build your own act.
And here's the other half of
here because it costs you.
here's the other half.
No one is entitled. You are not entitled to having people platform you.
And
exactly.
Additionally, let me just say this, and I'll repeat this for those of you who are new to my channel and might not know that I'm this edgy fuck this. Let me be really specific here and say,
I think you made that clear.
Yeah. Nazis hate free speech. And they will literally, if they get their way, implement anti-speech measures every fucking time. So if anybody who supports Nazis or is one tells you that they're here and you have to tolerate them in the name of free speech, you can tell them to go fuck themselves or you'll make them. Those people
and
are
it's not just that.
I'll make them.
They also will do this shit where if you're like, oh, hey, that's racism. Do you know where that came from? Do you know what the origin of that is? Do you know what the history of that is? They're like, oh, you're silencing me. Just because I disagreed, I'm silencing you now.
Oh, no, critical theory.
They do that all the time, and people who are confused fall for it. I don't know how, but they continue for it. And they're like, oh, yeah, leave him alone to say what he wants. And I'm like, I'm going to say what I fucking want. Ban me, you motherfucker.
Yeah, and that's happened so many places.
And, like, honestly, fascism is a goddamn threat. And a threat breaks the NAP, and I will allegedly punch the shit out of a Nazi.
Yeah. And so,
open your goddamn
philosophy that they want to fucking eradicate what they see as degenerate. And, like, that can be anything. And they generally apply it to, like, people that just simply aren't them.
Yeah.
That just disagree with Nazism or, like, fascism or their flavor of it. Like, they'll just label you as a subordinate or, like, a degenerate and try to get the fucking masses to turn against you or throw you in jail.
Yeah.
Or they'll try to, like, legally oppress you and shit. Like,
well, I mean,
it's happening today.
I fail to understand how speaking and pushing fascism is not a threat to, like, everyone.
Yep.
Well, they talk about killing
or
people.
Why we would
like,
not
it's in their
react that way.
And also, just real quick, hello, Eek. It's good to see you. I hope you're doing better. And I'm going to follow up about that situation because it's made me angry that it hasn't been addressed sooner. So I'll be following up about that situation as well. Nobody here knows what I'm talking about, but I needed to say that. So yes, that 9mm, that cunt. And you can see that it's just nothing but wall-to-wall, like, pro-white supremacy, like, Nazi and Nazi-adjacent mentalities on that guy's timeline. And he's literally fucking supporting the Trump bullshit. He's been a backer of authoritarian right-wingism, and this is true of most of the people that they've been supporting lately on their fucking social media profile, including backing Jeremy Kauffman directly and seemingly implying that he is indeed still in charge of the account. So, yeah.
I always wonder if that, I've said this half jokingly, I'm like, that account be some kind of psyop to make people not want to support libertarians? Because that's exactly
a lot of them probably are.
I wanted to chase people away from libertarianism. It has to do with the way the party structure works. Like, in an official social media account, you just need to be appointed by, like, your state chapter or your local chapter or whatever. The National Party has very little control over individual chapters, so they didn't really have much ability to get a handle on, like, how these accounts are run. Maybe that needs to change because, like, the New Hampshire account created so many problems. Like, I mean, I heard this directly from quite a few people in New York State that, yeah, this guy has created so many problems for the rest of us. I'm pretty sure the Mises Caucus lost out on a potential deal with who
Yes,
was it? Like,
Whole
I think
Foods.
it was the founder of Whole Foods. Yeah, they might have gotten a backer. Like, they might have had this guy donating money. And then the meeting that they were supposed to have was canceled because of a particularly offensive tweet by that account. And it made the guy say, fuck this, I don't want to be associated with something like that. Like, yeah, that's just, yeah. And yet they would not rein that guy in faster.
Centralized power of the party.
Well, so
yeah, that's the accusation that they'd get. Yes.
So my deal is this: it's the party of fucking principle, and if your party cannot stand on principle, maybe that's a problem for consistency, messaging, and fucking content. And so if they're not willing to be principled and primarily stand against statism, authoritarianism in general, and all of the organs of the state, not just the ones that they're going to use to make their petty little pedantic fucking sophist points in that particular regard, then they're not the party of principle anymore, and they should shut the fuck up. That's my thing. If you're not going to be principled, do not call yourself the party of principle. Do not join the party of principle. Or what you are trying to do is subvert the principle and the evidence that they need to do better gatekeeping, that they need to do better at pushing people out, and like understand that these things must. There was this convicted pedophile in jail for a bit there who joined the Libertarian Party, and I don't remember which administration was responsible, but they let him stay a member, a paying member. And like, this is how it is too much of the fucking time, is that they're not willing.
Yeah, they need to remove, they have the ability to remove.
California.
And of course Malagon, who's a piece of shit, and he should be removed.
It was out in California.
Yeah, speaking of California, I just had to say that. But yeah.
So, do we have questions to answer? Because I'm gonna have to bounce relatively soon.
So we'll be wrapping up because I know everybody's got a book. This has been nearly a 3-hour stream already. So we'll go like closing statements. We'll start with Dennis because he's got his hand up, and then we'll move like through the ranks here. I'll just sort of like call people out once people are done with their closing statements.
I just want to say I wanted to mention a little bit about the whole bigotry is irrational and repugnant. A movement like Libertarian Party, an individualist movement, should be high. It should be like number one on our list of saying stuff like that, because bigotry is a group mentality. It's identifying people as members of a group. We're supposed to be individualists. That should be top and center. First thing we say. That we find, and just because people misuse it doesn't mean we shouldn't still be saying it and doing it. We should just be calling out the people who misuse it, and you're almost cowing to them by doing that. You're making it easier for them to do what they want to do, want to have done, by doing that. So I think that was a huge mistake, and I think it partially was done in some people's minds in order to make it easier for some of these people who are on the edge or in the fence, or people who get accused of being some sort of bigot.
Remarks. Oh yeah,
you know, so that would be, you know, that sort of thing. So yeah, it just, I don't know, it frustrates me because I think that was part of the idea. So because there are times, like I said, there are people we called out as being racist or bigots long before they admitted they were, and we get killed for it, right? Cantwell, we called him out years before he came out and said he was. Stephen Molyneux, I still have people defending him for me, right? Oh, he's not really a racist, or he's not really a yes, he is. And it's frustrating because, you know, we can see it, we call it out, and then we're just told wrong, and then we have to come back later and say, hey, look, we told you so. Maybe listen to us next time, and we never get listened to next time, right? So it's that's the frustration part I always have about that. So. But I'll let it go there and be done for the week.
I've been experiencing my fair share of that over the past 8 years. I'll tell you what, being that guy who's consistently telling people shit and then it happens, and you know, yeah. Hody.
Okay, you're a Cassandra.
Well, hopefully not. But Hody, Go for it.
So you can tell a lot about people when they pick up their hat and take off their hat. And you look at how great a job they did taking over an affiliate when it was somebody else running it. Say Archie, for instance, or, you know, when it was somebody that they didn't like running it. And then they'd be like, they're screaming, be like, you got to do something about LPNH. And it was like, hey guys, could you maybe just tone things down? Private messages. It's like they took that intensity, that they needed to have for all those other affiliates that they took over, and just totally dropped the ball, would calm about it until they finally had to unleash like Jeff Douglas on them or whatever, although they apparently got it back. I don't know. Now it's apparently violence for white people and black people to live next to each other. The account is absolutely parody, right? Like it is completely absurdly ridiculous, but they made this bed. They know how to take over an affiliate if they want to. They don't want to. We've seen them do it. Like if you want to, then. So the idea is that they don't really want to, because we know what it looks like when they do. And that is the issue that I have. It's definitely not all LPMC people. It's not even most of them. I was shocked at how many people, when I finally, you know, I was late to the punch, but finally was like, hey guys, this is a real problem. How many people are like, I'm with the LPMC. What's a problem? And, you know, I talked about myself, and they're like, I didn't even know what was going on. They did a really good job helping me campaign. You know, like and so I don't want to paint this with too broad a brush. It's the people in charge that know better, you know, and I have a friend who's like, yeah, Angela's anti-Semitic. She falls for the German new medicine, stuff like that. But he's still supporting her because he believes there's something there. Like the LPMC is still going to be worth like saving. And yeah, Jeremy Kaufman's a racist and everybody knows it, but there's still something to salvage there or something. Now, listen, I don't think we have to condemn everybody, but take a really careful look at when people have no problem condemning somebody and then go, I'm not going to condemn people just because you asked me to. No. Listen, if you had no problem condemning Sarwark and Jackie and me and, you know, Archie and Reinhold, and you have no problem. I mean, they even took the first punch against the We're Libertarians network, right? Like, there's just people like they had no problem lying about it, said absolutely nothing. A lot of people are like, yeah, that's too bad that they chose to lie about you, but you know, there are things, you know, we had to accomplish some goals, darn it, you know. And then all of a sudden they're like, what? You're asking me to condemn Nick Fuentes? Nah. You've tipped your hand. We see with the cards in her hand right now. I gotta toss it back like to Jesus when we talk about this, man. Like, just go out and do the work. Like the original agorist, just like he's not even the OG, but I love the guy. And just being like, I'm just gonna go out and do the work, as opposed to getting tied up in all this political bull crap, because you're always going to get something like this with Donald Trump. We touched on the history in this chat. This is a global thing. The thing is it may seem like it, and it is like a small thing right now. Yeah, we've invited Donald Trump. Some people are going to look stupid. In 20 years, it'll be a laughing point. But there's a lot of times when it's not laughing points, when we sell out. You want to know why the ANCAPs have never had an ANCAP society? Because they sided with the fascists during World War II. And they were like, listen, we're going to help these guys. We're going to get the guys that are in our way out of our way. And then we'll have our own ANCAP society. Didn't happen. Won't happen. Isn't going to happen, right? Like, because when you sell out a little bit to the other side, they say, thank you for your service. Oh, shoot. There was another part of this bargain. I forgot what it was. Oh, you guys, kill them all. Off to the gulags with them, right? ANCOMs, listen, you've had some ANCOM societies. You don't want to know why there aren't a lot more of them? Because what happened during World War II? Well, we got to get those capitalists out of the way. So, you know, let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and join, you know, big red waves. What's a couple 100, 200? They debate how many million people we butchered and starved to death, murdered. That doesn't even include the people that we disenfranchised and exiled who died on their own without food. Like, hundreds of millions of deaths at your hands because you sold out your anarchy to fulfill your communism. Capitalists, when you sell out your anarchy to fulfill your capitalism, you get neither. You get nothing. We've seen this over and over throughout history, that sadists will take what you give and give you nothing in return. Oh, they'll promise it over and over again. Oh, it may seem like a really useful temporary alliance. They're not going to do it. So do what Jesus did. Do what Konkin tells you to do. Go out and do the work outside of the political sphere. Stop trying to make it work in your direction. This is like trying to build a gun that points back at the user that shoots it. That works at WB cartoons. It is not very effective in actuality. You're not going to get the political monster to do anything except kill, because that's all it does. It's not going to kill itself. Go out, behave like you believe you should behave. You may be arrested for it. You may be persecuted for it. You will be, right? Like, you're going to find that. But ultimately, if you're a good person and you are stalwart about the right issues, and you say, I'm going to do the right thing no matter what anybody tells me to do, that people will find their way to take your side and say, I really like that guy. Libertarians, let's use likability for once to our advantage. We have so much philosophy, and it's all fantastic. But let's talk about dressing that up. Let's be salespeople. Let's do the right thing for it. Let's meet people where they're at. People aren't going to care about your liberty until they have food on their table. And there's a lot of people in this world without food on their table right now. There are people, you may be surprised. I live in a relatively affluent neighborhood. Housing's unaffordable. There are people who at my food pantry here, we get, give out eggs and cans and whatever gets donated, whatever. Food pantry wasn't useful for years, and now we have my neighbors in that line. There are people struggling to make payments on their $1 million homes. That's to say nothing about the people who are struggling. I mean, the millions of times more people that are struggling to make rent, struggling to make ends meet. Right? People are suffering right now. Meet them where liberty movement takes care of that problem and says, hey, neighbor, I have some extra. I have some of this, some of that. You don't think they're going to ask what your philosophy is? You don't think if you're walking around with a grin on your face and you're happy all the time and you have healthy relationships and you are the most charitable person they know, that they won't say, hey, tell me a little about what you believe. They will come to you. This is the Jesus lesson. Do the right thing, and they'll be like, could you tell me what you believe? Because I think you might be onto something with the way you walk that non-talk. Don't be afraid to just do some walking some days. And we do a lot of talking with the Trump stuff or whatever, and we're about to get walked on because we're trying to do political things. Let's stop the talk. Let's start the walk, and everything will be fine.
And if you're a Christian out there, stop being a Christian nationalism advocate, and start being slower to speak, being slower to anger, not letting the sun go down on yours, and a bunch of other shit. And maybe by your fruits you shall be known, rather than you're bashing people you want to call fruits because it makes you laugh. Anyway, just, Bread, we will go to you.
Well, I feel embarrassed to follow that. Jeez, thanks a lot, dude.
Yeah, you're fine.
I hate you.
You'll be fine.
He always gives closing statements.
This was a really great talk, and it really helps to feel like other people noticed this stuff instead of because you get gaslit by it and am I crazy? Am I the problem? But you can't allow that to happen to you. You can't let them bully you out of it. And the way that we continue to fight this fight is not through politics. It's not through parties. It's not through the president. It is just like he said, right through our hands with our community. Y'all need to leave this shit behind and go home and find your people and find your collective and do these things with your hands. We have parallel societies that are anarchistic that have been being built for hundreds of years. Some of them are still around for hundreds of years. Some of them are here in America right now. And all you have to do to join them is to either go find them and join them, or just literally start it yourself wherever the fuck you are. Get your hands in the grass, get dirty. We're going to have to build these things because this shit's not going to last forever. I don't know if you guys noticed, but this nation is not in a real good trajectory. And I don't want a civil war. I don't want to participate in that. I want us to be building our parallels and giving each other mutual support and mutual defense and like confederating our consensus across the nation so that when shit falls to shit, we're the ones that have a real net. And those nets out there, they already work. We need to make them better. This is not about making anarchy tomorrow. Anarchy is now. Anarchy is you. Anarchy is all around us, and it has been. We need to stop talking about how we're going to turn a nation into an anarchist state and actually just turn our spaces into a state of anarchy.
Agreed. Now, Chris, I'm really fucking bad with names.
Yeah, geez. Following up after Hody, I don't know. But I would tell people, watch who you associate with. Okay? Watch who you associate with. Don't go jumping on the bandwagon because it's the popular thing. Okay? Watch who you associate with online, in person, because you may get into something you're going to regret. I've had a lot of friends who, over the years, who turned out to be something that they turned out to be something that I didn't think they would be. Okay, I've had people call me everything except my first name. I've had people disassociate with me because of my marital status or the color of my skin, or and I thought they were good people. I've had people disassociate with me because I happen to be a Christian. Okay, I happen to be someone who tries to follow the words of Jesus Christ. And I've had people who have accused me of stuff that I'm not. So I know this is libertarians are in it's a small tent, basically, okay, of the world view, basically. But just be careful of who you associate with. I've seen some good people go down the rabbit hole real quick. Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, the first time I ever went to a libertarian meeting, I walked in, and the first thing one of the attendees said to me was, we don't support affirmative action, right?
Fucking
Oof.
bullshit.
Wow.
I could have just left right then, but the people were there like, whoa, wait a minute. He's new, he wants to learn, blah, blah, blah. I've gone to events where I've said, hey, we need to do this event, and we got good coverage, and then next year, okay, so back in '93, we actually marched in the Martin Luther King parade in Denver, Colorado. Okay, we had our banner, we had people, it was freezing cold, but we braved it or whatever. That next next year when we decide, hey, let's do it again, we got a lot of backlash. Well, that was a waste of time. We're not blah blah blah, yada yada. And I said, hey, look, we're already being accused of being of Lyndon LaRouche. that was another thing. Okay. And then after the Oklahoma City bombings, okay, my local newspaper, the Rocky Mountain News, published a list of hate groups, okay, in Colorado or in the West. And guess who happens to be on that hate list? The Libertarian Party. Brought out by the media. We know if you're a true libertarian, you're accepting of everybody. Okay, it's an individual thing. Now, I understand that we all have like freedom of association. Okay, I don't want to associate with people, and that's fine. I can completely understand that. Okay, and if someone's posted something on something that I maintain and I don't like it, okay, that's not. And if I get rid of it, that's not calling infringing on someone's free speech. That is something that I don't want to be associated with. Okay, huge difference. If you want to post that kind of crap on your wall or on your Twitter or whatever, so be it. Okay, but I don't. So I just want whoever might be listening, be careful of who you associate with, because it seems like a lot of good libertarians have gone down that rabbit hole, okay, I've known, like I said, I've known good people, okay, that have gone down that rabbit hole because of a certain event in their life or something that was done or something that was said, and it corrupts them, and they just turn out to be not the people I want to associate with. And right now, and I'm not saying any of you, okay, but the party to me is just dead. It's dead. Yeah. It's dead on arrival. I hear all this. I hear all this speech about, oh, we're going to take the party back, blah 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 blah, and I go, the damage has already been done. I mean, 2 more years of the Mises Caucus running the party. There won't be a headquarters. It'll be a post office in somewhere in North Dakota somewhere. All right. And the building will be gone.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So and that kind of thing just it worries, because there are a lot of good people who put up money, all right, to have that, and in honor of David Nolan, who happened to be a good friend of mine. So just putting it out there from an old timer, and a lot of these people don't like us old timers, all right, but we have a lot to say, okay, whether you want to hear us or not, that's fine. I get it. Okay. But you're going at this the wrong way. And I'm going to say my piece.
Yeah. So, and also to be clear,
Thank you.
Three things. First off, feel free to add me, follow me on Twitter and add me on Facebook. And I'll, like, if you're down for Unity, like, I can add you to a group chat as well. If you're down for, like, anarchist Unity, libertarian Unity, what have you, I can add you to a group chat. We have that, Chris. And, like, we want to hear from that sort of thing. Like, these streams are free-flowing discussions where I get, like, a lot of people from different backgrounds on this stream. You might have noticed that this kind of stream here operates differently from a lot of the streams that you've seen on YouTube, elsewhere, etc. And it's probably slightly better and more conducive to this sort of shit. So you're free to add me everywhere, and I can include you in future streams, and you can say a lot more than the piece you said today if you're interested, because we're definitely down to hear from you. And then I've got a few comments in chat I want to reply to very quickly because they're irritating. Michael Johnson came in here saying, Christian nationalist? What's that? So if I'm a Christian, I need to hate my nation? Basically, you're supposed to love Jesus first, and if your nation is against Christ in their actions and philosophies, then you absolutely have to hate your nation, because God probably does. And Michael Johnson also says, Democrats want a civil war. That's just a noise. You're not making any words that make sense. Like, there are so many people who want a civil war, and just to say that is sectarian nonsense.
Yeah.
Michael...
Does he think we're friendly or something?
Does he think we're what?
I think they were what?
We're friendly to the duopoly, and that, what's he's hoping to gain?
Well, if you disagree with somebody who is participating in the culture war, you are immediately placed on the opposite team, no matter what team you're in.
Yeah.
I can get called a fascist and a communist in the same goddamn thread.
Yeah, well, if you're not having that happen on a daily basis, you're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong.
Michael also says several other things that will make everybody laugh here. Michael says, there is no anarchy. Someone will always lead. And Eek,
oh my god.
Patriot Eek over here in the threads, and a very, very long time supporter and agorist friend of mine. And I still promote what he does as well. He says, anarchy doesn't mean no leadership, Michael. It just means voluntarily following people, not being forced to follow. There will always be leaders in leadership. The key is whether that is mandatory or voluntary. And Michael Johnson says, watch what? In response to Chris. So far, I don't want to be friends with any of these people. Well, fucking the door is there. And then he also says, I'm punk from the 80s. You don't get to say what anarchy when it's meant no leaders for day one. It's everyone for themselves. And Patriot's like, LOL, yeah, whatever.
What punk rock is like at all.
Yeah.
That was never what punk rock was like. I'm sorry, that is not even close to what punk rock has ever fucking been like. Fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was part of the punk scene.
Sorry, that's personal.
Yep.
That's fucking personal.
Yep.
Gotta love the keeping that apparently never goes away.
Yeah.
I'm from the 80s too. You can go fuck yourself, you dumb fuck. You're out there making it good. You know, like you're trying to protect Christian nationalists by pretending you don't know what one is. Punks don't fucking make excuses for fascists, you dumb piece of shit. Fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm having a moment.
It was beautiful.
Eek says, LOL, yeah, whatever. It means no rulers for fuck's sake. Ruler implies not voluntary. Michael says, leaders are mandatory. The world is made of followers and leaders. And Eek replies with, I guess Eek wasn't replying there. Michael says, a philosopher? So Kill Google comes up and says, been a punk from the 80s, but probably never read an anarchist philosopher. And Michael Johnson's like, a philosopher? What kind of nonsense are you talking? Anarchy is not a philosophy, it's survival of the fittest, and only the strong survive. I'm in here with a bunch of morons. I'm out. Kill Google replies,
how to say I've never even looked at the Wikipedia article of anarchy.
Yeah. Kill Google.
Don't let her hit you on the fucking way out, Michael.
Yeah, bye, bitch, bye.
Exactly. Kill Google says, what a clown. You can literally Google list of anarchist philosophers. Yep, exactly. Fucking shitbag. Go fuck yourself. Come back when you're ready to learn.
Yeah. We don't have theory.
Yeah. Like, this whole stream was about anarchist and libertarian philosophy, and this motherfucker wants to come in and say, nuh-uh, without any actual, like, substantive critique of anything we said. Go fuck yourself, you drooling fucking... So, anyway, let's throw it...
When somebody says something that's that toxic and like that toxic to you, can you consider it a breach of the NAP and slap him across the face?
Well, clearly he has no problem with violence. Like, I just...
Probably. probably still a net violation,
Well,
but it's
but
very tempting.
by his own terms, all I have to do is
That's okay. I don't do the NAP.
Well, no, if they join your covenant community and there's an explicit agreement hidden within the fine print that if you say something profoundly stupid, other members are allowed to slap you across the face, then
yeah, well,
That's it. From now on, anyone who hangs out with me is now consenting to the fact that if you say something that profoundly stupid, like this Michael dude, I'm allowed to slap you.
and
Otherwise, keep a 6-foot distance like you got COVID.
I'll tell you what. If I ever say something that fucking stupid, I'll fucking slap myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's all make a pact that yes, we retain the right to slap each other if we say something that stupid, or
I
barring
consent.
it close enough, we slap ourselves.
So
I'm down.
And to be clear, like, you know, if this guy is serious about this, leaders are mandatory, and if you don't like that, you're a moron. I just have to prove that I'm more of a leader daddy by, you know, showing him what mandatory leadership looks like and forcing it onto him, theoretically, in Minecraft. So, he's already signing up.
The fact that he said that shows you right there that he's clearly a fucking beta cuck fucking follower and has no place in any sort of voluntary society.
Exactly.
Nope.
And so let's then move on to Lizard for closing statements.
All right, so like basically, I want to sum all this up with saying that I personally am not a like big follower of the Christian Bible or anything, but there's a few things that I take from there, and knowing your enemy is definitely one of them. Because if you don't know your enemy, then you're just taking shots in the dark, and you might be hitting your friends instead of enemies. So, as much as it makes you cringe, I think that you should look into some of your enemies' philosophies so that you can get to know how they think, so that you know how to spot them out, and push them out of your groups more effectively. A lot of what we're dealing with right now is like infiltration of our movement. And if we knew what our enemy looked like better and we were more educated on that, we would be able to handle these problems a lot more effectively and efficiently.
All right. Let's go to Bryce.
Other than that, I would say...
sorry, my internet fucked up. Go.
Get out there and start doing things with your... other than that, I would just say get out there with your locals and start, building anarchy around you like everyone else has been saying.
Yeah. All right. My internet fucked up. Apologies if I cut somebody off. But Bryce, let's go to you.
I mean, I'm just going to kind of reiterate what's already been said a couple times. Anarchists should not align with status. Anarchists should not even attempt to align with status. We've seen on both sides of the economic aisle what happens when you do. The only people anarchists should be aligning with is each other, fucking anarchist unity, all that good fucking wholesome shit. Fuck the state.
Cool. Archie.
So, lots of things to think about. I think the LP is a dumpster fire. I think that it's going to be the last nail in the coffin when Trump takes the stage. And I think it's been, you listen to people like Reinhold, you get a sense of the history. I think the LP has been doomed for a very long time, and that something new needs to be built. I just don't know the exact form of that yet. I would say on a personal note, I have friends that are trying to work within the Republican Party, and I don't fault them for it, even though I absolutely despise the Republican Party. And I have friends, her name is Brianna Coyle, working within the Democratic Party. And I've had many conversations with her, and I don't think she's changed. I think she's just trying to do her best. She was some of the worst treatment in the LP. So I don't blame her for leaving one bit. She's a fighter, and she's going to keep fighting for freedom. My last point is we have to do a whole episode on Ukraine because I think there's a whole lot to dig in there. I think that geopolitically, ignoring Ukraine and letting it fall is one of the stupidest things we could possibly do. I think that if we survive all of this calamity, I don't just mean Ukraine, I mean the entire nuclear era. Historians are going to look back at Ukraine as a pivotal moment. And the reason I say this is if Ukraine falls, every motherfucker that runs a state is going to be like, I want my own nuke that I can hug. Nuclear proliferation will go through the roof. That will blow mutually assured destruction out of the water and make a nuclear war inevitable. And a nuclear war is an extinction level event. That violates the NAP of 8 billion people. And that's what I'll end on.
We will definitely do a Ukraine stream at some point.
Strong.
Next week, though, we'll actually be addressing the comments because we did not do that this week very much anyway. We addressed some of them.
Messed up.
Yeah, but it's fine. I mean, we said some important shit this week, I think, and I think we treaded some ground that we didn't last week. So, or in the other ones. Rose, take as much time as you need.
Right. Well, I think I've thoroughly vented about basically everything I needed to, but kind of to touch on what Chris mentioned earlier, though, I think, he mentioned the Oklahoma City bombing and how easily libertarians were lumped in with that event. I mean, these things should be cautionary tales that we do need to be careful, how easily we make it to lump us in with, say, right-wing groups or, right in this case. Of course, we're going to be lumped in with, domestic extremists or terrorists or whatever, but we should not hand our opposition easy wins by, say, doing something idiotic like platforming a right-wing populist at what is supposed to be a libertarian event. I also will say, I think that, the idea behind the Libertarian Party was a good one, but obviously solutions are going to come from real life organizing and not from, within the electoral system. And I mean, I've said this many times and I stand by that. Whether or not the party can be salvaged to be used as a tool for messaging and recruiting, I guess that much I'm still torn on. That's why I'm still here, and that's why I'm still in it, and that's why I'm still constantly complaining about it. So I'll end on that.
All right. Well, I will end. First off, thanks deeply to all of you and anybody else who decides to show up for these things because they're long and fucking exhausting. But I think that, a lot of good ground has been tread. And I think, these things are going to be useful in the future, especially looking back on them amidst the rubble, proverbially speaking. And personally, there's a lot more that we could discuss and a lot more that we should. But this particular sort of mini-series as part of the Real Libertarian series, I think is necessary because what it does is it gives people the idea that you could be on opposite sides and still actually talk to each other. I hate this whole fucking siloing bullshit. I hate this mentality that we can't talk to each other. I hate this idea that we can't, have a reasoned conversation. And I think that the ultimate truth is that until we're ready and willing to talk to each other, none of this is going to solve anything. None of this is... And so, I think that that's important. And here's my other thing. We need to also do it with the knowledge that it's not wrong to take a side. it's not wrong to filter out. It's not wrong to say these people are, for instance, in the case of my particular biases and proclivities, siding with the same sorts of cultural trends that have resulted in things like Nazi Germany. It's not lost on me that the exact same rhetoric is being repeated and the exact same kinds of minorities are being targeted. The exact same rhetoric is being repeated and the exact same, minorities are being targeted and the exact same kinds of social and political policies are being promoted and the exact same kinds of people are behind it. Like, it should be no surprise that a movement which was so thoroughly infiltrated originally and like through its history by people like the Koch brothers would eventually turn into a Nazi-friendly organization when that like group was being funded by a family that got its money from Nazi oil. And when they're trying to like appeal to the same sorts of mentalities as the Bush family and the old right, when the Bush family got its money from Nazi banking and steel, and when like it's trying to appeal to this mentality that it's acceptable to be this way and affiliate with these people and do the same exact shit that happened before Nazi Germany. When it comes down to it, when it comes down to the bare knuckle truth, it's happening again. It needs to, we need to recognize the cultural trends and understand that the real enemy of all people who are not Nazis is the Nazis, because the Nazis bank on people's willingness to accept certain things as degenerate, things that should be eradicated from public life, things that should be that are a threat to our Americanism, our Western society. Perish the fall of Rome. It's so awful. Come here, Mussolini. We'll form a new fascist society that tries to respect the rules of Rome. America being built in with a bunch of Roman symbology because it was also directly affiliated with Rome, fetishization. The fact that this is an empire emulating an empire that fell is the reason it's falling now. It's not because of degenerates, you pieces of shit. And when we realize that the same sorts of mentalities that didn't work in Nazi Germany to do anything but divide the people, create mass death, the same people who say that you are the carbon they want to reduce are the same people banking on the kinds of culture that will mass reduce that motherfucking carbon. And we need to understand that. We need to understand that these are evil Malthusian monsters, ghoulish fucking demons in charge, and that's the reason that they not only helped the Nazis before, but also during and after the war. Ratlining them out of Germany
and now.
Yeah, ratlining them out of Germany with the Reinhardt organization, not Reinhold. Fucking the slow positioning of them in MK Ultra, in the paperclip bullshit with NASA, and also more MK Ultra, with the filtration of them up to Canada and the escaping of them into South America and a bunch of other shit like that. Just to push back a little bit, the emplacement and support of them by the CIA and American kingmakers in Ukraine through aerodynamic and muscular, a bunch of other projects that have been fueling right-wing governments and authoritarian regimes forever through the CIA and more. When it comes down to it, we have significant problems here, and we need to address those problems by destroying the state. And until we do, we're fucked. You have a little bit of time, Kareem, because we're going to wrap to give a closing statement, but we're wrapping now. You got to come closer to the beginning and stick around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I had a show today.
Gotcha.
I'll wrap too.
Oh.
All right, so
I can wrap.
basically
Biggie,
just give a statement on, like libertarian like methods and modes going forward. I'll give you like 4 minutes.
Well, first we gotta respect the national anthem. By the national anthem, I mean the CNT and the FAI song, because that's really awesome. I've been listening to that literally every day. Even though I don't speak Spanish, I'm actually getting better at singing it. I might even do the convention. Here, a method I think would be good is to kind of get enough free folk and get enough left libertarians to boycott or make Donald Trump's speech and appearance ineffective, showing that, hey, conservatives cannot work with libertarians. That would be a good start. Also communicating with more libertarians. I just talked to a mutualist today, so that's cool. He's been commenting on my stuff. And then obviously Book Chin's idea sounds the best, communalism. But I do like free markets, so keep those.
All right. And like I will be doing another one of these next week. Lots of content in between. We'll be addressing questions and things like that, and lots of stuff coming elsewhere as well. If y'all like what you heard, feel free to throw money at me, or like help Rose get to the convention through the GoFundMe, or any of the number of
Yes,
other
that would
things.
be good.
Yeah. And like, so there's a bunch of things that you can do to help those here. Be sure to connect with all of them, not just me. This is not just about me. So all of that being said, thanks y'all for coming on. Understand the fascist threat and the repeat of history, and recognize this before we walk down that same road and into the boxcars which roll us into the concentration camps they all want to destroy us in. We are the carbon they want to reduce. All of us, no matter our race, sex, gender, sexual orientation, anything. Doesn't matter. If we don't unite against these Malthusians, they will reduce the population numbers by destroying us, and they have to take our freedom first in order to do that. So stand for it now, or you will fall for it later. And that's why we need to unite at the bottom of the authoritarian scale, 0% authority or as close to as we can get, so that we can stop pointing our barrels at each other and start understanding that the real enemy is at the top of the ivory towers looking down on us while we brawl to their behest with their controlled media, politicians. All this shit is rigged. We need to fight them, and if we don't, we fucking lose. Maybe forever. So with all that being said, unite with your fellow person, no matter who they are, and try to find common ground, because they want us divided so that we can't smash the fucking state. End. There we go.